This might be your last chance to get one of these right, because I don't know if I'm going to be doing these joke intros again after this.
Oh my god. What?
This might be the final one.
I've only got one. In the 8 seasons we've been doing this show specifically, I've only gotten like one.
Yep.
I don't even remember when that was, so.
And it was marginal as well.
Yeah.
Okay. If Theon, Varys, and Grey Worm formed a group, what would they be called?
It's going to be something to do with penises because they all don't have a penis. So at least I think I'll be close. But what would the name of their group be?
Yes, the name of the group. What would it be called?
It's going to be like a band that I don't know it can like fit. But it obviously will when I figure out when I get told. But it's going to be a group that is like a pun on like a lack of a penis. Red Hot Chili Penises. I don't know.
Oh my god, you were so close!
I know I would have been close, yeah.
It was X-Men.
Oh! Well, that's... What? So that wasn't... So I was in the right track of it as the name of a group, but it wasn't a band, it was the X-Men. Because X marks the spot of where their penises used to be.
Yeah, well, X-Men as in they used to be men is the idea.
You can still be a man without a penis if your penis is chopped off.
Yeah, I know. It's actually a bit transphobic.
It's a very transphobic joke.
But it's still, when you remove the morals from it, it's a funny joke.
Yeah, if you remove any sort of morality of what your beliefs are, maybe it's funny.
It's a bit of a chud joke.
Yeah.
You failed.
I failed. But I was close. That was probably the closest I've been in a long while.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
They all don't have penises. I got the joke in the end. I understood it.
Yeah. I think, I don't know if I'll ever do jokes again on the channel, but we'll see. That might be the last one. Anyway. Hello everyone, and welcome to a video that has been in the works for 6 years. Crazy. This is the Game of Thrones recap for Season 8 and the show as a whole. We are finally, after this video, coming to an end of a long arc. The longest series the channel has ever done. This is it. This is the end.
And it's a series that has already been done with the last season anyway, before then.
Yep. Yeah. It's rare. It's actually rare for this channel to finish a series. Like, there's a lot of them that we've started. We haven't ended many of them. This is one that we're actually
we've
finally
watched
finishing.
The whole show, yeah.
Yeah. Because we still, like, obviously... The original, like, this is where the trope comes from. It was with Jake, with Doctor Who. That ended. Then there was Worst of Classic Who, which I did finish, but I finished it without Adam. I had to find an alternative way to finish it.
You finished it with
one that I actually...
a bunch of YouTubers.
Yeah, and you were in it.
Yeah, I was.
So that was one I actually did finish somehow. And then there's a whole bunch of others, like we have watched all of Arcane, but we haven't uploaded all the videos, so that's technically not finished. Then there's, other things as well, like there's music reactions we haven't finished, there was stuff on the wrestling channel we haven't finished, which probably will never get finished, because I've kind of ditched that channel now.
It was good for like a year and a half. When wrestling was good, and it was
fun.
Bankrupt.
Yeah. It was fun, and then I just don't give a shit anymore. And yeah, there's just been a whole lot of things on this channel that have been started and not ended, but we're actually going
this
to
is
end
an actual
something.
chapter that's actually being closed. So I do have a question. What was the date of the first upload of the first reaction? Do you remember? Because I've got it here.
What, Winter is Coming, Game of Thrones? You mean?
Yeah. When was
or
that
do you
uploaded?
Or do you mean the Patreon video?
No. The first episode. Because the Patreon one was the end of 2019. We watched it then. But when was the upload of the last episode, or first episode of our reaction to Game of Thrones?
18th of March 2020.
Yeah, for me it says 17th of March 2020. So
right.
This is nearly 6 years old. That video is nearly 6 years ago.
That's right.
And we filmed it in February. We probably filmed it in February or something. This took 6 years to make because we watched all 3 seasons in that sort of cluster when COVID first started, and we literally watched an episode like every night or every other night or something like that. And you got burnt out with Game of Thrones because it was so intense, because season 3 being one of the most intense seasons.
Well, I mean, it was such a cluster of things that, like, we got to the Red Wedding and I was a fucking wreck.
Yeah, it was also mixed in with the fact that the last 2 episodes of season 1, the audio for that, if I remember correctly, was kind of messed up. Something like that happened, and that was sort of a demotivational occurrence that happened. So we then didn't watch Game of Thrones for another 2 years after we finished season 3.
If I remember correctly, season 7 was 2025, season 6 was 2024, season 5 was 2023, season 4 was 2022. So yes, you're right, it was. So
we've watched a season every year, pretty much.
Yeah, that's what I committed to doing that.
Yeah, we did it once a year. We watched it as if it came out, instead of watching it just a week after the next, we did it as its own, traditional just seasonal release. It became but at some point this became literally a December tradition in terms of release.
However, there was a benefit to that in the sense that before we did season 4, you rewatched seasons 1, 2, and 3
in 2 weeks. Yeah,
those are the most rewatchable seasons. Those are the ones that actually reward you when you.
And I remember there's literally I remember making a tweet after we watched the first episode of season 4. Saying, "Oh, we're so back," because that was the introduction of Pedro Pascal as Oberyn, and that was fucking awesome. So yeah, that was really great. I remember that.
Yep. And also, the other thing that was beneficial is that during that time I read the source material, which gave me way more perspective on season 4, 5, 6. And I guess bits of 7 and 8, sort of seeing how everything was different. It made me, it put me in a better position to critique and explain why things didn't work, as opposed to just be confused.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot worked out in the end, I would say.
Yeah, I'd say so. In the end, it did work out. Yeah.
Unfortunately, the same person got out of and is back in presidency of the US since we started the series.
That's actually true. Yeah.
So, in a way, nothing's
when
changed.
We first started, hadn't Biden just become?
Nope.
Oh, nope. Yeah. Oh, was it in the last year?
No, it was COVID.
No, didn't he become? Was it? Oh no, that was still in the middle of Trump's first reign, wasn't it?
Joe Biden. So the infamous day when Trump stormed the Capitol because he was losing, and his VP Mike Pence was gonna sign Joe Biden as the next president, was January 6th, 2021.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's the infamous day. And it was right after that Biden took over. So
right
when we did the series, COVID had just started, and that's when Trump was being like, "Inject yourself with sanitizer and soap. That'll clean you out. All right, you don't need to." That's the kind of thing that he was saying. Anyway, speaking of tyrannical leadership, shall we talk about Game of Thrones?
Yeah. what a weird ride it's been. These 8 seasons in like it just fucking hell. It went from being such a great build to an absolute fantastic peak, and then it just fell off the rails for 4 seasons.
Yeah, it's a weird one. It's probably the most volatile TV show ever made.
Mm-hmm.
Given it's because there's lots of shows that are as bad as Game of Thrones is bad, but they're also not as great as it is great, and that's the main problem. Yeah, there's a part of this show that is genuinely generational. But of course, we have to begin talking about season 8 before we get to talking about the show as a whole. We have to get we have to eat our medicine before we get better. So, your initial thoughts on season 8 of Game of Thrones?
It's an absolute disaster of how to not just wrap up a show and its story, but it's just so incredibly incompetent as just how to write basic narratives. Like, fucking hell. Fucking mental, that is. How just absolutely insane you took, like, one of the greatest narratives told in the modern era of TV, and while it was in a really bad state anyway, couldn't help yourselves but ruin every single good character you had. Even like when some of them were even like regressed anyway, you fucked it so hard. And just every episode has just so many problems, and then it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Till the last shot of the entire show actively makes me mad. That last shot of Jon on a horse walking into the north, and that's it, and that's all you get. Fucking bullshit. I hated it. Yeah, really, really hated this season. Fucking awful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the most devastatingly damaging seasons made for any show. Hard to imagine a worse ending. I think the only thing that could be worse than this is like AI slop, and that's literally it. That's the only thing that could be worse than this. It is like a serious lapse of judgment, and yeah, it can't be undone. It can't be undone. Made worse by the fact that it's unlikely that we'll ever get the end of the books either, given George's advanced age. So, yeah, fuck. we're stuck with this. Yeah, what a terrible idea this was to do it this way. And also, they took extra time to make this season. They took 2 years.
Yeah, they took an extra year to make it.
So, well done. Well done on achieving something that had arguably never been done before.
Yeah, you've turned probably one of the most beloved shows into an absolute laughing stock. The original show, at least, it just turned into its own. Like the term Game of Thrones, like is like used to be a title of like high quality, and now it's just, do you end your show like Game of Thrones? It's its own thing.
Yeah, sadly, there's been quite a few of those that have come close recently.
Yeah, in a sense, the problem that a lot of other shows have, Stranger Things, they are still quite messy anyway. But Game of Thrones legitimately had like consistent peaks of like stellar writing and acting, and it's its own thing that I don't think will ever be surpassed because other shows aren't that good in comparison.
I guess they're really popular.
Oh yeah, they're popular. They're certainly popular.
Like,
but a lot of people
Stranger Things is massively, Stranger Things is massively popular. Something like Squid Game is massively popular.
Yeah,
but where like the difference is that Game of Thrones wasn't just popular. It was like influential. It was one of a kind. It was high art as well as pop culture. It was like a balance of everything.
Yeah, casuals loved it and actually cared about the characters and not just, oh, he looks hot, or she's attractive, or oh, I like them. It's not like that. It's like you can actually understand the narrative and it's easy to follow, and it's like, this is really compelling.
Well, it's like a playful reimagining of historical fiction with dragons and wolves and all that. Like, it's it's really, really, really interesting, intricate, and, you know, thought out, and kind of reads like an old tale, and it's got, you know, so much detail, and you can think about it for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And, like, for example, this massive lore book here that I have, it's like, you know, written in a way that a Bible was written. It's got so much detail. Crazy. You just don't get shows like that. And yet somehow, it all came crashing down.
And it hurt inside.
Let's run through the list of characters. Let's start with Tyrion Lannister.
Fucking hell. What an incompetent buffoon. And somehow didn't get fired from his position. He actually got to leave his position. He got to say, I resign. Somehow, even though he failed like so many times according to his queen.
So when we go through all these characters, I want you to think back to season 1, or the first season they appeared, because some of them weren't in season 1. Think back the first season they appeared, and just compare the two.
Season 1 Tyrion is smart, sophisticated, funny, like actually funny, and is compelling initially as a character who is different from everybody, yet uses that as a drive to actually be intellectually like smarter than everybody else, just by like a wide margin, and uses that to get out of situations or to provide things that he needs. And that you get that in season 2 as well, when he's Hand of the King. And then you compare his sort of slow decline from in the next 2 seasons in a narrative way that is so satisfying, that peaks with his trial scene being the bigotry that he faces and the amount of abuse he gets because he's a dwarf, and that outpour that he gets towards everyone around him who sees him as a demon rather than a human is so well crafted and excellently performed and brilliantly written, to then immediately, as soon as he kills his dad, devolve into a buffoon who doesn't know what he's doing, actively fails every time he's given a task, and is abused for it verbally, and still is having to stay in this position even though he's clearly not good for this job because they're writing him that way, to then just completely humiliate him in the just final season of, I stand here and betray my friends and act like an idiot. Oh, I couldn't have saw this coming. Oh, Varys' ashes would say to my ashes, look, I told you. As if, what the fuck do you mean, you fucking idiot? And then he's it's just
Bran,
then he's
king.
Yeah, he's says that the best story out of everybody he knows is Bran the Broken, not fucking Gendry, who's the actual heir to the throne and the one with actual claim to it, and he doesn't get to say fucking anything except I. Thank you, Tyrion, so much for fucking up everything.
Yeah, it's crazy because, like, in season 1, it starts with him saying to Jon, like, all dwarves are bastards in their father's eyes. And by the end of season 1, his father makes him acting Hand of the King. So this idea that despite the fact that Tyrion is hated for what he is, and how much of an inconvenience he is to his family's image, he is still put in positions of important roles because of how useful he is. So the point being is that he's able to overcome the prejudice against him by becoming undeniably useful and resourceful and one of a kind. And so it's this idea that no matter what kind of negative bias you're given, you can rise above it. It's actually a very... It's almost, what would be the word? It's quite inspirational to Jon, and it's inspirational to people in the audience watching, is the idea that Tyrion he's smart enough to circumvent the fact that he's a dwarf and make people have to do what he wants or use him in a way that is going to benefit him. It's really, really interesting. It makes him really intelligent, and it makes everything he does in the story captivating, because you know that he can find logical and actual, really persuasive ways to get around things. Whether that be, get out of being sentenced by having a trial by combat, because it's a loophole in the law, and he knows people who know how to kill. Or something like, convincing an army of men to fight for him in Blackwater. It's that sort of thing that makes Tyrion so interesting, is that despite being the smallest man, he casts the largest shadow, he has the highest level of influence. Part of it due to be his nepotism as a Lannister, but also the fact that people pay attention to him because of how he stands out. And then when you get to season 8, it's like all of those things that made him great are just so diluted in shit, because now he makes so many mistakes that are unjustified. He overlooks so many details that are obvious, and it's really puzzling as to how terrible of a hand he can be to Daenerys while still maintaining his power until he walks away from it. And yeah, it feels like a lot of what makes Tyrion great is just sapped out of him by the end, and we're left with this pathetic, pretentious drivel, all summed up with that prison scene with Jon, like where they're talking about Dany and morals and life, and just everything just falls apart. Yeah, they fucking ruined him. They absolutely ruined Tyrion Lannister, when he was at one point the best character in the show. Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, insane. Insane work. Insane self-sabotage.
Yeah, okay. Season 1 to 8 for Jaime Lannister.
Really, really clever sort of build-up of the character that initially is seemingly an antagonist that is long-term going to be a problem for our main characters in Westeros. And as you see more layers to who he is as a person, you get to see that he is not who he actually portrays himself as. And once you get to season 3, where he blurts everything out in effectively his soul of what he's branded as rather than what he actually is as a person, it's quite devastating, but also incredibly impactful for a journey of a character who starts out as very just like, you think, a terrible, like, horrific person who will do everything to protect someone that you shouldn't be in love with, to then completely reverse everything he was and stood for in a single line of dialogue. To be honest, I never really cared about them, innocent or otherwise. What an incredible turnaround in just one line of dialogue that doesn't even get challenged in any way, but of course they would, because of who he fucking is and who Tyrion knows who he is. Makes absolutely no sense. And then to end his story with being in the arms of someone who he actively sought to break away from. But no, his story is a circle, and that is a theme that makes sense and is narratively satisfying, I guess, to the writers. And apparently he's the stupidest Lannister.
Yeah. because he's dyslexic or something. I don't know. You must feel pretty offended by that. What's really interesting about Jamie in the show is that they have the benefit of hindsight, in the sense that when George started writing this character, he was initially, conceptualized as the main villain of the series, and then as the garden grew, he realized that he had the opportunity to do something really unique with Jamie. So while he was in prison with Catelyn, there was this slow sort of cooking period where he thought, oh, actually, we can do this with Jamie. And of course, when you get to A Storm of Swords, and that's when he starts taking Brienne from Riverrun to King's Landing, that's when all of that unfolds. And so in the TV show, when they adapt it, they then go back during seasons 1 and 2, and they actually, they prepare for this arc. And so you get that beautiful scene in the Red Keep with Ned Stark, in episode 3 of season 1, where they talk about Jamie killing the Mad King, and the actor gets to show the inner monologue of what Jamie did. And so it's this amazing start to where the world believes what Ned Stark thinks Jamie is, but as the audience, we get to see behind the eyes of Jamie when Ned, calls him a traitor, and when Robert asks him, well, what was it really like?
When serving was safe.
That's right. And when Robert was saying, like, oh, what did the Mad King say? What was it really like, Jamie? Tell me. Like, that kind of thing actually gives you an eye into who this guy is. And he's threaded through, and then, as you say in season 3, all of that trauma and, tension comes out. Because, and this is really important to understand, because Brienne of Tarth is the person that Jamie truly feels like he can open up to in a way that he can't open up to Cersei. Which is something that season 8 does very wrong. It doesn't understand that exact part of the story. That the reason why Jamie is so unresolved is because even though he feels attached to Cersei, he can't fully be who he really is deep down with her. This is something that there are scenes in the show that are not in the source material that Dave and Dan wrote themselves, like in season 4, between Jamie and Cersei, where this exact idea is portrayed. Where Jamie is trying to convince Cersei that Tyrion didn't kill Joffrey. That kind of thing. Where Jamie feels like he can't properly be honest with her because she will never accept who he actually is. She will only accept Jamie when he's being a mirror of herself, which is what he is early on. And it's so weird that they decided that actually he's not going to allow this person within himself to fully manifest. He's not going to allow himself to see that what Brienne allows him to be is so much better than what Cersei allows him to be. And what they did with him in his last episode is absolutely pathetic. The way that they portrayed the idea that he begrudgingly saved their lives with the Mad King, that he didn't actually care about them, and that he only did it because he's like, well, I guess, I don't care about them, but I guess it's a good thing, it's the right thing to do. It just completely shits on the whole point of why he would save those people. The whole humanity behind it. The whole reason why he goes to fight the dead at the start of season 8. And they try to make it seem like this circular tragedy, but it's just pathetic, and he dies to bricks, and I fucking hate it. Because in the books, Jamie's my favourite. He's the best character in the source material, and he gets one of the worst endings in the show. Absolutely barking mad.
Literally doesn't even get properly squashed because there were bricks that just covered him a bit, and he died from it, apparently.
Yeah. That's just like the central facet of his character. I didn't even talk about the fact that he was a great warrior who lost his sword hand, which is a whole other side of his character that was amazing.
And then they could have survived if they just moved a bit to the left, and where the bricks didn't fall, because that's what they weren't there when Tyrion went to see their bodies.
Yeah.
Great narrative storytelling when the environment doesn't make any sense with the fact that they could have just survived. It's great stuff. It's really great. Wild.
Speaking of bricks, season 1 to season 8, Cersei Lannister.
Really interesting of like how she's not a good person from the very get-go, and she continues to not be a good person throughout the show, but you do get elements of like you understand her, but it's not done in a way. Yeah, but it's not done in a way where a lot of shows and films do, where that's as if like that could be a redeeming factor about her. It's not about a redemption in terms of like who she is as a person. It's just there are aspects you understand about them, but she's still an awful person, clearly, because of those things, in a way, and in some regards. Her devotion to her children is what drives her for a lot of the early parts of the season. And, you know, her devotion to Joffrey being on the Iron Throne and everything she does to get rid of Ned, and then obviously Joffrey takes it into his own hands by killing him. That sort of struggle that she has through those first like 3 seasons before he dies is like really interesting to watch, but she continues to, you know, empower him in a like horrible way. And then once he's dead, you see her just sort of unravel, but in a way that is just dangerous to everybody around her. And there are parts that do work and there's parts that don't, but by, I guess, before season like 7, she is a person that once you get the, you know, the destruction of the temple, is just like, what a moment that was for her. And then the next 2 seasons, she just kind of turns into like I am the villain, and that's sort of who I am, and that's kind of it. And nothing else is going to get really explored other than I'm pregnant, and I also want armies and an elephant to go with it. And that's kind of, her last 2 seasons are just so strange, because she's evil in the most uninteresting way, and then they also kill her off in the most just brain dead way of bricks fall on her. And it's just so weird. And she ends up just, she whores herself out to fucking Euron, and it's so stupid. And she's also pregnant, but also drinking wine all the time. That doesn't make any fucking, I wanted those elephants. That's just what she's not a character anymore in season 8. She is just a mouthpiece for what Dany needs to destroy to get the Iron Throne, and that's just who she is. She doesn't get any character. She kills off My Sunday, and that's sort of the best thing she does because of, I guess, sure. But then she doesn't kill Tyrion when she obviously wants him dead because he sent Bronn to kill him and Jaime. It doesn't make any fucking sense at all, and she just doesn't do anything, and then makes weird decisions and is just nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really, because the thing with Cersei is that she is like, in terms of the medieval royal noble hierarchy, being the woman that is at the center of everything. The reason why Cersei is so disturbed and so just upset all the time is because she's constantly being used by other men. She's used by Robert, she's used by Tywin, she's used by her brothers, she's used by her son, she's used by the Hand of the King. All these men that surround her are trying to use her for their own benefit. So it's like Tywin's like, you will marry Robert Baratheon and you will bear children, and you will do this and you will do that, and everything that she does is in service to other people, and it's never returned back to her. And it's no wonder why she becomes so narcissistic, because she has no actual love towards her in her life, apart from her twin brother of incest, which in itself again feeds that narcissism because Jaime reminds her of him. And so Cersei, because of that, it kind of allows you to understand why she's so driven to reclaim some power over the men around her, because she's been so just trampled on all her life. And it's like they, you know, a lot of people only see the value in what they can get out of her as opposed to who she is, and that absorbs into who she is. It's why the Walk of Atonement is such a powerful scene, because it's, once again, it's stripping away everything that she is trying to, you know, everything that she is trying to use to guard herself, to protect herself, like the high power, the royal nobility, the expensive dresses, the long blonde hair, being the queen, and all that. All that stuff that she uses to protect herself from the fact that she's constantly being used is then stripped away, and she's having to once again be vulnerable, be targeted. It's why she's driven to do something as terrible as terrorism, because she has so much of her life has revolved around being used. And it's why she's so desperate to be in control of power, because she needs to protect herself from that. It's why she wants to protect her children from that, because as a child she was used by her father for any gain that he could want out of his family line. And it's why, as you say, her being reduced to such things in Season 7, especially Season 8, it's so jarring, because it's like she's completely forgotten all her self-awareness. She's completely forgotten why she's here. She's forgotten why she decided to get to this position. It's not because she's a mustache-twirling villain. It's because she's a person who's been through a lot of shit. And it's why her staring out of windows dumbly and naively miscalculating what would happen fighting dragons and being crushed by bricks is just such an unsatisfying conclusion to this character. Because if you remember back in Season 1, that conversation she has with Ned Stark, where he confesses that he knows about Joffrey's true parentage, and that when you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die. That whole thing feels very torn apart by this point. And it's a shame, because unlike some other characters, I think Cersei's actual motivation and what makes her who she is lasted longer than some other characters. It was arguably, I mean, there were parts that weren't done as well, but the really true motivation and core of who she is lasted until the end of Season 6. And then it just sort of all crumbled and fell apart and started to become weird, and it's such a shame. Yeah.
It is indeed.
Think back to that scene she has with Robert Baratheon in Season 1 and how interesting of a character she was compared to where she is in Season 8.
It's pretty horrific.
Or like when she's drunk during the Battle of Blackwater and she's telling Sansa, you know, the greatest weapon you'll ever have is between your legs.
Yeah.
These hens will be in for a bit of a rape. It's very, very, very candid. All right. Daenerys Targaryen, Season 1 to Season 8.
Not the best character throughout the show. Has interesting sort of moments, and like sort of very first season is probably when she properly was like really interesting and probably peaked, I would say. So there's still a lot to talk about in terms of like early stages of her character. It's a bit of a mixed bag throughout, but I think one thing that you can say is consistently her character is that she is wanting to help the innocent is her main thing, and she says so many times throughout the show. We have over 10,000 reasons to take the city because of the amount of slaves there. I am not here to be Queen of the Ashes because she doesn't want to kill people. I am not my father. Just all the things she says when she just tells us that she is not a monster. The blood of my enemies, not the blood of innocents. And that all gets undone because apparently my Sunday died and Jon won't fuck me and I'm not loved by people in the north. So I'm now going to murder innocents in the city and not actually try and kill Cersei. For some reason, they were in my way. or Cersei gave me no choice.
It sounds very it's an interesting perspective, because it's I hate to say it in a positive sense, but it has aged like fine wine in the sense that there is a specific person in the real world that has said this exact thing of, they were in my way, and it's also massive bullshit. So, yeah, crazy. I think absolutely crazy.
What makes it so spectacularly awful is her final line being, like, one of her final lines being, I know what is right. And Jon says, what about other people who also think they're right? And she replies with a very interesting way of saying it, but like, she suggests that no, they're not right, I am. Very dictatorial of her to say something like that, and then is murdered and killed and put to an end. And it is... We'll get to it when we get to standout worst thing about this season, but there is not a single decision, I think, in the entire show, or maybe even if, like, a lot of shows and narratives, where a single change and decision of a character affects almost everything in a negative way and ruins everything, than her deciding to kill every innocent person in King's Landing. It is the heel turn of all heel turns, in the sense of it ruins everyone's endings. Everyone. No one other than Podrick gets a good ending who is still alive at that point from that decision.
Yeah.
What an absolute clusterfuck of a narrative you're building in this season, which ruins everything.
And this is a big long running thing on this channel, so I think it's significant for me to say this. I think that Daenerys doing what she did, which you just described, is worse than the Doctor saying, I left Gallifrey because of the hybrid, and the hybrid is Clara.
Oh, easily.
I think it's worse than that.
It's a lot worse. I think it's a lot worse, because that moment destroys his character. It destroys the Doctor's, that incarnation of the Doctor's character. But it doesn't.
Well, I mean, it does. It does change the entire show. It does change the context of the entire show. But I think what Dany does is actually worse than that. I think it damages even more.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, easily. I think it's the single worst decision in almost every single either film or TV show of a character making one single decision that is so catastrophic it ruins everybody's endings of where they end up and what their character is at the end of the show. Tyrion, Jon, even Grey Worm, literally everyone gets affected.
Jaime and
Cersei. Fucking Sir Davos is literally a nothing character anyway, so, but he doesn't take any action. He just says random bullshit.
Like, the top 5 to 10 most important characters are all ruined because of that moment.
Bran, Sansa, Arya, they all get changed because of this, and Arya has the fucking gall to say, I know a killer when I see one. Well, yeah, because she fucking destroyed and killed everyone in the city. What do you mean, you fucking prick?
Yeah, so
I don't think that will ever be topped by anything ever again. It is going to take some doing, because it has to come from something that is so great that has such a destructive downfall to even get close to what they achieved with this singular character shift.
Yeah, so I think in adaptation, I think Daenerys is probably the character that is the most impacted by not having inner monologues, because a lot of characters are able to somewhat bring a lot of that context to the surface through reactions and the way that they interact with other characters. But because for most of the show, Daenerys is cut off from Westeros, you don't get her interacting that much with people who are in the know. You get a bit of Jorah Mormont, yes, sure, you get a bit of that, and you obviously get her brother at the start of the show, but for a lot of Game of Thrones, Daenerys is separate from the rest of them, which means that she has to carry all of her perspective on her face, and a lot of what the story does not tailor to showing that inside. The other thing is that because they age her up and they change parts about her, it means that they then have to sort of reimagine how she's going to react to every plot point she's in. And so it's the reason why she's so great in season 1 is because despite the fact that she's, I guess like 18 or 19 instead of 13, she's still able to act in a way that's very similar to how she is in the first book, right? Which is why her arc with her brother and with Khal Drogo and with Jorah, that all works really well because it's all very similar and it all kind of comes together in a great way. And like you say, she overcomes being out of that position of power and being in fear to then ending the first season, hatching her dragons, bravely walking into the fire instead of becoming who she really wants to be. And as you say, as she goes on with her arc, like there is unfortunately, a bit of turbulence in season 2. I mean, the Redway stuff isn't terrible, but the Karth run is odd in its execution. But when you get to Slaver's Bay, especially season 3, that idea that that sort of contrasted, very balanced in terms of morals, in the sense that it's got good and bad elements, idea of being a liberator of slavery and oppression, but doing it in an abolitionist way, is a fascinating idea, because it's the idea that you are doing something that has an end goal that you can understand would benefit a lot of lives, but you're doing it in a very aggressive and upsetting way that is going to be a disaster for the communities and the economy and for the cities to adjust to. It's a massive cultural shift. And so that sets up for really interesting intrigue and how will she handle the pressure of being under all of that. But as I say, because there's that missing inner monologue, we don't really get enough of what she's thinking and what she's feeling. We only get what she's doing. And what she's doing doesn't work as well when you don't understand how she feels about what she's doing or what she thinks about what she's doing. And also, like, all her romances are different because now she's portrayed as being, apart from Khal Drogo, she's being portrayed as having this sort of authority in scenarios like with Daario Naharis and with Jorah, and it doesn't quite have the same level of her being coerced through teenage lust. And then, of course, when you get to Jon Snow, it just doesn't make sense. Everything is rushed and just falls together in a very sloppy way. And as you say, Season 8 just takes her entire motivation and entire arc and the things that actually did work about her character through those turbulent seasons and flips it on its head in a way that doesn't make sense, damages the story, damages her character. And throughout the show, they don't allow Emilia Clarke to play the role that would showcase not only the best of what her talent is capable of, but also what the character was imagined as by George Martin, in the sense that Daenerys is supposed to be this very whimsical and fun person who, has a sense of humor and sees the bright side of life when she's not focused on political matters, and is, coming into her own and growing up and still going through the things that a young girl is going through. Instead, she plays this very stoic and strong and very sort of rudimentary girl boss character, and it's fucking so annoying. It's very annoying to watch. And then, they give her this grand red velvet presentation, and then they just make her this really dumb, crazy heel. Just like her father, which again, context, the Mad King's turn happened over a many number of years. So there's all this, all these reasons why the Mad King spiraled. And, Tywin Lannister witnessed that happen. Being, a very close friend to Aerys II Targaryen, to then being his enemy by the end. But for Daenerys, it all happened very quickly, and that's why it doesn't work. And it's really disappointing, because she's such an important part of the story.
Mm-hmm. And it fucks everything up.
So yeah, they truly failed this character, possibly more than any other.
Because even though she wasn't the best character, and probably wasn't even close to being like some of the best, her idea of what she is as a person is like really easy to get, and they decided this season to completely flip it because that would be interesting and different in their eyes, with the idea of managing to do it in 6 episodes somehow, when most of that focus is also on something completely different, like the Army of the Dead, and concluding that in a satisfying way, which they didn't fucking do. It's not ballsy, and it's not commendable of, well, they at least tried to do something challenging. Just because you do something challenging doesn't make you any less of an idiot for trying when it's such a insane task to do in 6 episodes of television in your final season, and do a thing you've not set up in the slightest. In fact, you did your best job in doing the opposite of what you then did in the final season, because of the action she did throughout the whole fucking show. It makes no sense, and they know it.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to what they did with Tywin Lannister in Season 4, in the sense that they tried to give him the ending that George gave Tywin, but the difference being is that in the show, throughout Seasons 1, 2, 3, and 4, they added all of these extra scenes that make him seem like this really noble, cool, smart, like family-driven person. Obviously still evil, but he's not like this hypocritical stain in the way that Tywin in the books is. And then so because they give him the he doesn't shit gold ending shot on the toilet with a crossbow, and it's done after having changed everything about him, basically, apart from the major plot points, like the Red Wedding. It's like, you watch that, it's like, well, no, it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing, because they're not the same person.
Yeah, and anyone who argues that because it's the same character, it isn't the same character. As someone who's not read the books yet, but I will once we finish this, the build-up of him as a person is of someone who is honourable in the fact of keeping their name in a clean and bright light, in ways that benefit his family, not just himself, to then go against everything he did with no indication that he was sly about it in any shape or form was ridiculous. But the difference between that and what Dany does is that it doesn't affect everyone else other than Tywin and Tyrion, and that's all it affects. What Dany does affects literally every single living character who's there. Arya, fucking Clegane, Sansa, Jon, Tyrion, even Varys in an extent, because he predicts what she's going to do in a way, but he does it in a fucking stupid way.
It affects Yara Greyjoy as well. Yeah. Because she sides with Dany.
Sides with Dany, even though what she did is insanely evil, and she's not an evil person. It's just fucking ridiculous. The only way it would be worse if that character who had died this season was still alive. Imagine if Mormont was still alive. What would his character end up fucking being? What would Theon's character be if he was still alive and he saw that? What would what
would Barristan think of that? You know?
Yeah. Thankfully, he died 4 fucking seasons ago. So
yeah.
in a really bad way, but at least his character wasn't shit. What an absolute horrific choice as a writer to do. Because you've got no fucking patience to do it. Or even the idea of setting it up in multiple seasons before you actually do it. Whoop-de-doo. We made a shit character, and that ruined everything.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. Jon Snow, seasons 1 to season 8.
And when we talk about characters who are affected the most from a single decision, Jon Snow is the one character that takes the fucking cake. Because he goes from in season 1 being this sort of person who is in a shadow because of his heritage and the circumstances of his birth that he believes and everyone else believes around him, to becoming what he becomes throughout those first 4 seasons, and even 5th season as well, because season 5 is a very half and half season really, but there's one thing that is strong without the first 5 seasons, and it's Jon fucking Snow, and he dies because of who he is in a way that is very satisfying to watch. And while his character was going downhill when he was brought back to life and nothing changed about him really at all, even though it clearly fucking should because he died and the fucking dark magic to bring him back to life would have some effect on him fucking changing in some way.
Well, it changed Beric Dondarrion,
yeah,
so we know that exactly. It happens.
Even though there was a lot of things he did in the last 2 seasons before this season, and it affected his character. He was a bit of a moron at times. He made some silly decisions. Should have died multiple times. Battle of the Bastards and everything. Even then with Battle of the Bastards, even how terrible it is, him standing on his own, alone, still wanting to fight, that is still something about his character and says something about him that is still strong. To do what they did in season 7 was quite horrific and kind of went backwards as his character really regressed, becoming kind of a simp to Dany. That all was really bad, unfortunately. But what they do with him, after what Dany does what she does, to him, despite him saying he doesn't justify it, to then immediately justify it with multiple reasons, the very next second he says that, completely and utterly destroys everything he is and everything he stands for, because he doesn't want it and she's his queen. And that is all he fucking says this season, because he regresses into a one-note NPC. Even though he is one of the most bespoken and most outwardly outspoken characters in the entirety of the show. Because he stood on what he believed in and did it because he thought it was right anyway. They're taking all of that out of him in this final season and said, that's not who you are anymore. You are a completely different person. You justify evil acts because you bend the knee. And you don't want the crown because you're a secret Targaryen, which went fucking nowhere, by the way. It literally affects nothing of the plot. Literally nothing.
Yeah, the biggest reveal in the entire show means nothing.
It means fuck all, because Dany's decision has nothing to do with him being a Targaryen. It's literally got nothing to do with it. It's because it's about her.
The only good thing you get out of it is it improves Ned's character, even though Ned was already great.
Yeah, it made Ned's character better, who was already dead for 5 seasons at that point. And that is it. And it's used to build up a tension that they never explore, other than, oh, we have sex and it's kind of weird because you're my aunt.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's all it does. And because he doesn't want it, and that's it. And that's his character. And it also gets Varys killed because he talks about it in the fucking open like an idiot, even though he's the whisperer, the Spider of Whisperers, or what it is. But Jon ends up exactly where he starts from the second episode of the whole show. And they think that's another full circle moment. What a way to end it. Fuck off. He should have killed the Night King in a way that made sense. I'm not asking him just to do it. He had to actually make fucking sense to do it, first of all. They completely take any of his urgency, any of his fucking power and stakes in anything, other than literally the one thing he does, which is kill Dany, and it's the fucking dumbest thing because no one's there, and it's just him, and it's just her, and it's just the dragon who then burns down the throne because apparently the dragon knows the throne is corruption some fucking how. We're down like 6 characters. I'm already fucking done with it.
And then he goes to prison and he asks Tyrion, "Did I do the right thing?"
What, killing an evil person? No, but death is the duty of love. And
he's so blinded by love somehow. He's so blinded by love. Even though I don't get why.
She's an evil person that you knew for like how fucking long? Ygritte was the love of your life because you knew her for 3 fucking seasons. You've known Dany for 1, and you fell in love.
Yeah, I mean it's
instantly.
funny, and it's funny though because the entire point of the story is that Ygritte was not the love of his life, and yet it still feels like it because of how they portrayed it compared to this. Yeah, so Jon Snow in concept from the source material and from the first few seasons is a guy who is constantly torn between desire and duty. It's so interesting. It's so interesting seeing the way he works, the way that he selfishly goes about, the way that he is, because of his neglect from Catelyn and because Ned won't confess to him, and because there's this sort of black sheep idea of him. He's born into the world in a way where he doesn't know how to communicate properly, and what makes that so interesting to me is that it means that he has these really good motivations that we know about, but he delivers them in a way that really pisses people off. And so that makes for constant natural tension with him, with everyone else, because it means that he doesn't know how to communicate his ideas in a way that they will understand. And so it's why he's constantly battling when trying to go to his duty. He's having to be forced against the pressure of everyone else around him, causing him so much trouble. On top of the fact that he's a person with his own desires. The fact that, and this is really important to note, that he wants things. Like he says to Stannis in Season 5, "I always wanted to be Lord of Winterfell." I always used to tell Rob that. Very important to know that from the start, he wanted things, and the reason why he wanted things is because he didn't have things, because he's a bastard. He always wanted things he couldn't have, because he's been dangled a carrot in front of his face, being highborn and being so close to it, but always being away from it, because he's a bastard, because Catelyn would never allow it, because of all that. You know, that whole idea that he talks to Sam about in Season 1, about how he wouldn't want to father another bastard because he wouldn't want his child to go through the things that he's been through. And how Ros had red hair, and how Ygritte has red hair, and how he's falling into the exact thing he said he wouldn't want to do, but because he feels like, as a wildling, in that environment with her and with them, he feels like he can truly be himself, is why he lets go and why he fulfills his desire to have sex with her, to fall in love with her, to become friends with Tormund and Mance Rayder. It's why that all happens. But then the reason why he betrays Ygritte is because of his duty. His duty battles his desire. He wants to love her, he wants to be a wildling, he wants to be with her. But his duty is to the men of the Night's Watch. That's why in like the end of Season 3, he peaks, and he peaks in this beautiful way. And after that point, when you get to Seasons 4 and 5, he does change a bit. He does become more of an archetypal hero character, and he becomes more of a savior character, which I don't prefer, but it's still consistent. It still works as a story. When you watch Seasons 4 and 5, there's still a consistent good run there. There is still a character that works within itself, that has motivations that make sense. And why the reasons why he's killed are simplified. They aren't as interesting as they are in A Dance with Dragons, I don't think, but they are still reasons that you can understand. The idea that he wants to bring people together, he wants to stop division, he wants wildlings and people south of the wall to unite against the dead. That all works, and like you say, when he's brought back to life after being killed, it's done in a very lazy way. His character regresses. He becomes way more archetypal in a way that shreds away the intricate parts of his personality. He becomes very stereotypical melodrama protagonist. And then when he meets Daenerys, everything just fucking falls apart like in a mess. It becomes a soundboard of, we need allies. The dead. We must fight the dead. I love you. You are my queen. Allies. I bend the knee. I bend the knee.
I don't
want it. Us. Don't want it. I never have.
My queen. It's like as the season just goes and goes and goes, as the seasons come and go, his dialogue just becomes more and more one note and more basic, and then it becomes 2 lines. I don't want it, and she is my queen.
So to go from, reading the books or watching the first 3 seasons, but mainly the books, having Jon Snow, this character who's rivaling Jaime for my favorite in the story, to then go to the last episode of season 8, where I don't hate anyone more on screen than him. I literally, in that last episode of season 8, he's the person I fucking despise the most in the episode. Is insane.
Because he weeps for an evil dictator.
It is unbelievable how quickly they tore apart this character.
You are my queen. As I stab you, as I kiss you.
You saved us from the zombies with your big fucking dragon.
The fact that he only kind of berates her for what she did, but he buckles under it in terms of before he actually does the action, and then ends up being like, despite me wanting to kill you, I still love you. Because that's what he is. That's his character. Despite having to know he needs to kill her, he still loves her. And I'm like, how?
Why?
How and why? How in the first place, and why still? Surely you would feel incredible. This person you barely know, that you've just met, and even if I accept they have some sort of relationship, which they fucking don't, but if we just ignore that for a slight second, you've known her for like equivalent of 5 minutes compared to everybody else.
I believe.
Surely your mindset would be, she's lied to me about who she actually is and is actually an evil bastard who I need to kill because she's an evil person who kills innocents to get what she wants.
I believe Padme loving Anakin more than I believe Jon loving Daenerys.
Oh, yeah, because they had spent time together. They spent time, and they had a child on the way. That would be something.
Yeah, like 2 years. 2 years together. It was crazy. Yeah.
Awful.
My.
One of the worst romances ever made.
Crazy.
Because not only it's not just the fact that the romance just doesn't really make sense. It's, again, like Dany's singular decision, it's what it affects in characters and what ruins the important parts of who they are. It's not just the bad romance, it's everything else around it.
It's crazy in that 2019 alone, we got Jon and Daenerys, and we got Raylo as well.
Yeah, that got confirmed, and then he force ghosted away when he kissed her. Oh, Rise of Skywalker, you absolute piece of garbage.
Oh dear. It's kind of crazy to think that Avengers Endgame is the least bad of those 3 endings.
And it's still really bad. Steve going off and abandoning all his principles because I want to feel love. Okay.
2019 was crazy. It was a crazy year.
Crazy times.
Yep.
But hey, they're back for Doomsday.
Yeah, still going. We're still going with this stuff.
Yeah, no, it's not about still going. It's the fact that we need to go back because that's what made it work. The characters everyone loves, not the writing. Fucking disaster. Slop. Pure slop.
Stanley.
But this isn't Game of Thrones. Isn't slop. It's just a devastating disaster. That's what it is. Because compared to everything else sort of around it, like at this point in time, and just everything comes after it, like Star Wars, like with the sequel trilogy, with Marvel and what it became after this point, and modern things like you said, Squid Game, Stranger Things, anything else that's sort of popular and mainstream that isn't like sophisticated, it's all just slop. This is its own unique thing of just like being completely devoid of any quality, because, and that being a bigger disappointment because of the potential this show had and where it was all seasons before.
Let's not forget that the Avengers films are adapted from comic books, whereas this is adapted from like thousands of pages of beautifully detailed text.
Yeah, directly coming from a specific story rather than taking ideas from different like iterations.
Yeah, in theory, this like the idea is way more like there's way more detail to come from. I mean, obviously it's not finished, but still season 5 does not do what it should, and neither does season 6. So it's not really doing what it should. Anyway, Sansa Stark, season 1 to season 8.
We're going to keep this one short because I cannot be fucked to talk about. Well, there's not even much to talk about because she's a one-note fucking moron. But the idea of what they want her to be is so infuriating, because in season 1, she goes from a very minor character who isn't that deep, realistically, and she never really becomes that deep anyway, but you can get her, you can understand her. She's not a great character, but she's understandable from those first sort of like 3-4 seasons. And the role she plays is a good role she plays, and it's interesting enough, but it's not main character worthy or anything like that. But then they decide, no, she is a main character and she is important, and we will not do the work to actually make her important. We will just tell you she is. And that is her for the last 3.5 seasons. And it's so infuriating and insulting that she ends up being Queen of the North. And there's no...
After she betrays Jon. Let's not forget that she betrayed Jon's trust. And it's never paid off. Yeah, I think the idea that Sansa is this character who believes in fairy tales. She believes in the princess life. The idea that you are born as a princess, you become the queen, you marry the king, you live in a castle, everything is well, and you live happily ever after. The idea that there is a character in this world that believes that, and then is actually in a position to become that. She is then betrothed to Joffrey. She is on the way to do exactly the thing that she's always dreamed of, and it turns out to be the worst life imaginable. I think is a really interesting story. And the way that from that she interacts with so many characters and benefits not only herself but their arcs as well, like the Hound, like Cersei, like Littlefinger, like Joffrey, like Ned, like Arya, like all of those characters that she is involved with, and their story revolves around, and the idea that she's again used in that scenario where Joffrey's killed, where Dontos gives her the necklace that Olenna takes to then poison Joffrey. All of that, and she's having to deal with the fact that she, without knowing, is involved and is judged for it. And Littlefinger is pulling the strings and using her because he's trying to groom her and, pull her under his wing. And the reason why he couldn't do that is because he always loved Catelyn and he could never have Catelyn, and Sansa represents an opportunity for him to finally fulfill his heart's desires in a really fucked up way. I think that whole thing, even if Sansa's not the most compelling person in the world, the story itself and the marriage to Tyrion and everything that happens is interesting. The problem is when Littlefinger gives her to the Boltons. That's when everything fucking just nosedives and she never gets good again. She is a terrible character as soon as they give her to the Boltons, and she's just terrible for the rest of the show. And that whole thing of like her not telling Jon about the Knights of the Vale and the lack of trust, and the whole thing of her trying to embarrass him in front of Northmen, and the way that she betrays his trust, and she just has this little like, I'm sorry, I hope you can forgive me, and then becomes Queen of the North, is just ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. And it's like they did all this build up and all this consistent, storytelling with her, and then they finally go somewhere with her at the end of season 4 when she manipulates Jon Royce and Anya Wainwood with Littlefinger, and Sophie Turner finally gets to do something that she can show, the character in a different light, and then it just ends there. It's a massive, massive build up to a really interesting scene for a character that would be really great, because if they went with that character that they had in her last appearance in season 4, when she gaslights the court, and they went with that going forward, Sansa could have turned into one of the most interesting characters. Because the idea they talked about her becoming a main character is if that was who she was. Same thing with Tyrion. It's the same thing. When he has his outburst in the trial scene, if that is who he was after season 4, and who Sansa was after season 4 with that scene, that would have been great. But that's not what happened. What actually happened was terrible. So, yeah, that's what I've got to say about Sansa.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
It's like all great build-up, one great episode, and then everything after that just sucks. And yeah, and unfortunately, Sophie Turner is one of those people where her acting matches the writing, and so when the writing is bad, her acting is also bad.
Yeah, because she's not a particularly strong actor, unfortunately.
Yeah, but she's good when the writing is exceptional. She can pull something out, but it's only when it's exceptional. But unfortunately, for the second half of the show, it wasn't, and therefore she wasn't. Arya Stark, season 1 to season 8.
Those first couple seasons have so much potential of a character that is not like she's like innocent in the sense of she's like kind, but is very much her own person in a way, and is very much different from everybody else in her family. And that her becoming something different and her own person is such a good idea for a character who's very young, who then grows up in the show. But instead they decide from like halfway into the show to make a mystical assassin who is all about death. And even then, you could have written it so much better than you did. And then you decide, no, she's amazing. She's an amazing, silent, crazy assassin. So she gets the big kill. That solves the big kill. That is literally all about what this show is. It's like which is death and avoiding death and fighting the dead. She had no idea who the White Walkers were until the very last season, and she, in stupid circumstances, gets the big final kill that kills everything, and that is that situation completely dealt with because she's an assassin. So Jon could have gone and trained as an assassin and solved his problem so much quicker than what actually happened. Instead of doing 8 seasons worth of build up towards it, he should have just taken an assassin's class and gotten a sword that would have killed the Night King, and that would have solved everyone's problems and most people would still be alive. What a great way to end off a character and give it to a character who literally is the most unsuited character for a moment like that. And then her whole thing in the end is, I'm going to explore the world. Okay, when the fuck was that your character? Oh, fucking hell, she's terrible.
Dave and Dan confirmed in the behind the scenes that this was their decision. They did this.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Yeah, Arya the reason why so many people love Arya at the start of Game of Thrones and the books is because she is a misfit, and she does not care about the archetypal female role. And that is all summed up in her scene with Ned Stark in King's Landing, the way she's like, I don't want to be a lady. I don't want to be in charge of a castle. I don't want to be a princess. I don't want to be a queen. That's not me. She wants to, do things that the boys are allowed to do. Her first moment in the show is outshining Bran by hitting the arrow target. In the sense that she, again, outshines boys and things. It's the whole idea of, like, gender roles and where they are placed in the world and what they're expected of. But Arya subverts that. And that's why it's so interesting to see her have to pretend to be a boy on the King's Road. Because they need to not only protect her identity, but also protect her from, being raped, for example. Because some of the people who are on the King's Road, whether that be the people going to the wall or people that are just strangers that are lurking by, could see a young girl and take advantage of that. But, yeah, like you say, in King's Landing and, her connection with Jon, her time at Harrenhal with Tywin Lannister, her time on, in the Riverlands with the Hound and with the Brotherhood and with Gendry, it's all got this really interesting build-up, and you see her character sort of see the world for what it is, and her being there at the Red Wedding and seeing that. It has so much great promise, and as I say, like, kind of similar to Sophie Turner, but possibly even more to an extent. When the writing for Arya Stark is great, Maisie Williams thrives. She's actually really, really strong in that role when the character is formed in the right way. But the problem is that when the character is not formed in the right way, as an actress, she just becomes such a disaster. She becomes this embarrassing, just smug prick. And the intentions behind Arya don't feel right when she's written this way. It feels false, it feels fake, it feels put on. It doesn't feel like the person that she actually is. And yeah, Braavos is where it all falls apart for her, because she loses herself. And like, I understand the idea is that becoming no one is to remove yourself, but she loses what makes her character actually tick, what makes her character in the story actually feel worth something. And they make her, crazy silent assassin Batman killer. And she gets to kill Littlefinger and the Night King, and she has 10,000 plot armor in the bells, and it's just insane. And then she ends the show as Christopher Columbus, and I don't understand. I don't get it. It's so strange. It's weird. And her whole, like, sex scene with Gendry and, like, all that romance, just super cringe, super unwatchable. All of her lines, all of her trying to be sassy. Yeah. Fuck it. Hate what they did with her. It's very clear to me that Arya is D&D's favorite because of the way that they present her. And yeah, it just doesn't... I love in the early parts of the show where she does stand out for who she is in the world, but she doesn't take over the show in a really obnoxious way. She's all part of the story she's part of the story in a way that is really beneficial to the show, and not in a way that, retracts from the show. But, the emotional honesty and the bluntness and the candidness and the forward thinking that Arya has early in the show is just not there at the end, and it's really annoying. It's really annoying, because she's so charming. She's so charming at the start. Where she's like, Joffrey's nothing like his father. He's a lion more than a stag. Like, that sort of thing. And like her laughing at Sansa for wanting to marry him and all that. Season 2 to Season 8, Sir Davos Seaworth.
Really, really cool character from the start. Really interesting sort of way that he's placed in a situation. And the slow build-up, I guess, it only really lasts, it's like 2 seasons, kind of, because his story kind of ends with Stannis, and then from that point onwards, he's just sort of around, and is sort of like, he's a good person, but there's not really much else there to talk about. And I guess in terms of the whole grand scheme of characters in the show, he's probably the least affected from Dany's decision and sort of the last season as a whole. But his overall problem is he literally is not a person who has real agency or affects anything. So realistically, he's a character that doesn't do anything, and it's kind of like, why is he here?
He's also put in positions of power where he shouldn't be.
But then does almost nothing with it that actually affects anything. And, like, it's really confusing.
I also think the way they pay off the Red Woman with Davos doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work. Not at all.
Yeah. I think Davos Seaworth is... I think of the characters that have regressed, I think he's the one that people talk about the least, and I think he's overlooked. I think him and the Hound are the ones that people don't talk about enough, about how they kind of messed with their characters. It's because they're likable. I think that's the reason. I think it's because people still enjoy their presence, even at the end of the show. But truthfully speaking, Davos Seaworth, to me, is so much more than what he is at the end of the show. I think he's actually a really tenacious spirit. I think the idea, because a lot of, in a lot of Game of Thrones nobility, you see these houses that have been around for hundreds of years, and they've really been there, they've stood the test of time, they have all this history, and there's so much power and value behind those last names, like Baratheon and Stark, Lannister, Targaryen, Greyjoy, like all of these names have this massive influence on the world. What's interesting is that with Davos, you get a house that is brand new, and I guess technically it's kind of like 20 years tops, like 15 to 20 years it's been around. But Stannis made Davos's house a thing. Davos became a Seaworth because of what he did during Robert's Rebellion. And it's really interesting to see someone who is of such low-born, flea-bottom class, who is a smuggler, criminal, someone who came from nothing, who is now the hand of the rightful king. And he's to this very brand new house, and it's such an interesting position to be in, the idea that he otherwise would have never been considered by the world, but because of his actions and because of his service to others and because of his bravery, he is able to become something. And I think it's all summed up in that scene at the Iron Bank in Season 4. When you see him advocate for why Stannis should be backed by the Iron Bank, the way he takes his glove off and said he means his word. In a world of liars, this guy means his word. It's a very specific kind of person to be involved in politics, and it's why him and Stannis work so well together, because of the contrast between them, because Davos Seaworth presents something to him that is opposite to the maniacal temptations of the Red Woman, firstly, but also presents a position on how Stannis can take what he wants to do with the world and do it in a way that's going to be not only effective, but actually be good for people. And of course, when Stannis dies, he loses that connection. When Shireen dies, he loses loving the fact that his sons are dead and he had this person that he cared about who's also dead. And so his one motivation is to enact justice on the Red Woman, which doesn't happen. And he just sort of hangs around Jon and doesn't do anything of value. He just sort of exists. And I think the biggest problem with Davos Seaworth is that they waste him. They waste his agency in the show by making him into someone that they tell you is important, but without him actually doing important things.
Yeah.
And in Season 7, they really ruin his character, but not only by having him flirt with Missandei, but also by having him talk to Tyrion as if he didn't kill his son. I mean, he acknowledges it, but makes it a joke. And, yeah, I really hate what they do with him in that respect, and that he kind of brushes off the war that he was involved in. Because, during Seasons 2, 3, and 4, and 5... he is the point of view character during that whole Dragonstone Stannis arc. And even when the Stannis part of it doesn't quite work because of the way the showrunners changed that whole story, Davos Seaworth is still the best part of it. His character is still carried through that whole Dragonstone storyline really well. But it's just when you get to season 6 onwards, he kind of loses his character. Seasons 2 to 8, Melisandre.
Yeah, I don't even fucking know. She's like that first season 2. She's like really interesting in how she weaves with Stannis and sort of like the whole corruption thing, and it's just after season 2 is where it gets really weird, and I don't really know how to describe her. And by the end, she's like, "I'm back. I give you this arc because we set it up in the previous seasons, even though it's not related at all. And now I'm old and die." Also, I brought back Jon. I did that as well. She's nothing. In the end, she's nothing because nothing she did realistically mattered.
Yeah, because as you say at the start, when she first is in the story, she represents something. She actually represents something within the story. She actually has involvement that matters, and it affects what she thinks. Her delusions about the Lord of Light are really interesting at the start, and how the temptation of victory forces Stannis to do things that he shouldn't do. And that influence she has over him is really fascinating. And the way the actress plays the role is fascinating as well. She's so different to everyone else. But once you get to, after that point, she just becomes a tool in the story that they use to do things. And she just doesn't, her role in the story is so tiny. And just pretentious and unimportant and mystical, and I just I don't they're trying to portray this thing that in season 8 she redeemed herself by giving up her life to save others. I just don't care. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care.
So yeah, that's all I've got to say. They ruined all of the care that I had. We'll lump these two characters together. Season 3 to 8, Missandei and Grey Worm.
Super minor characters that have a romance that is well built up enough to be that's a thing that's okay. And then she's killed to fuel Grey Worm's angry character in the final season. And that doesn't really go anywhere. He's just bad and angry. Doesn't really have a resolution.
Why doesn't he execute Jon? Why doesn't he execute Tyrion on the spot?
Because we needed the final scene in the meeting. We needed that. The worst scene in the show.
There was a whole month where Grey Worm was the most powerful person in King's Landing.
Oh. Literally, there's not much you can say because they fall in love because of their sort of situation. It's really basic stuff. It's fine. It's okay. There's some decent scenes here and there.
I think season 4 does it best. I think after that it kind of gets simplified, but in season 4 it's quite good.
Yeah. Other than that, it's very minor. It doesn't really impact the story. And her death apparently is significant because it changes both their character. Not really changes Grey Worm. He just becomes angry and just wants to kill everyone. Dany we've talked about Dany enough at this point in time. They're just not that important, but her death is trying to be a part of this arc that just doesn't work. There's not much else you can say because what actually is there to say? They fell in love. It's an okay story narratively, and she dies in the end. And he's angry.
Yeah, the main thing with the show is that it's all about how you position these characters, because the reason why they work so well in season 3 and 4 is because they're positioned in the right way. They're put in the roles that they need to be in, but it's when you make someone a main character in a way, you have to be able to handle that. And that's the main issue, is that in season 8, they've made them main characters, and that didn't work. And also just the way that they capture it is just so crazy.
Literally makes no sense. Sense. How did they even do that?
Yeah. And I fucking despise what they did with Grey Worm at the end of the season. Like, it's genuinely insane. The way that they fuck his character in the last 2 episodes. Because remember how, like, interesting he was, like, in season 4 when she sees him, or when he sees her naked and he's ashamed for her to see him. And, like, that tension he has of, I feel guilt that I looked at you with lust. And I feel embarrassment that I faced you, you know? Like, that kind of thing for an Unsullied is so interesting. But then by the end of the show, he's just really full of hatred and rage, and there's nothing else. And there's no person. It's just one emotion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because it's a shame, because Jacob Anderson plays Grey Worm really interestingly throughout the show. Like, he actually does really interesting things with that performance and, like, portraying the different sides of an Unsullied character. But it's just, like, again, as I said, he just becomes this one emotion person. And it's just fucking annoying. Right, season 1 to 8. Theon Greyjoy.
He's lucky he dies before the bells. When we talk about Theon, who's a very slow build of, like, different facets of his character from season 1 to season 5, he goes on a journey that I think out of everybody, it's the most complete character that isn't terrible in the final season. He makes a dumb decision in the end, but realistically he's going to die anyway. Realistically, in that situation, very possibly get stabbed through his armor, which is fucking stupid, but okay. You look at his journey from season 1 to season 2, where he is one of the best characters, if not the best character, to then everything he is as Reek. Just, there's so much we've obviously talked about and dived into. And while it never got really that strong again, he still has a character. Even when he dies, there's something there. Unfortunately, it's in one of the worst episodes of the show and in TV. But at the very least, there's something there. It's just could have been so much more as well. That's also the thing. It could have been so much more.
Yeah, and that's the crushing thing about Theon, unfortunately, isn't it?
It just doesn't get there, unfortunately. Even though he's probably the one character in this season that has that sort of moment of the narrative still serves the good parts of his story from previous seasons. It's just not what it could have been, because it could have been levels above what they did.
Kind of similar to Jaime in the sense that they had the benefit of hindsight in being able to know where Theon is going to end up when they started the show. So they added all these extra scenes in season 1 to build up to season 2. And they do actually take quite a few liberties with Theon. They take quite a few liberties, and they do a lot of their own thing with Theon, kind of like they do with Tywin Lannister as well. But the difference is that they actually find a way to create a version of Theon that gives this actor, Alfie Allen, the ability to show off everything that he can do. It is like this performance that evolves every season. Like you get season 1 where he's constantly jealous and full of envy and feeling like he needs to find a position where he can actually win something, be important, matter to the world, not just be stuck between two high lords. And his jealousy of Robb and his jealousy of Jon being so prevalent, to then also go to season 2 when he so pathetically takes over Winterfell from Bran and kills Roderick, and then realizes before it's too, like when it's too late, what he's done and that he can't escape. Meets his doom and then becomes Reek. And again, you get this whole other side of him where Ramsay tears him down, and he just, again, I think it's one of the best performances in Game of Thrones is Alfie Allen as Reek. I think it's disturbing. It's so interesting the way they get there. And then after season 5, it's like the idea for Theon is still there, but it's just like the story doesn't actually allow him to fully manifest that arc to where it could be. Because, we talk about like potential. It's kind of like I remember when Jay was talking about the power of the Doctor, right? Seeing those old doctors in that episode, like, Paul McGann and Peter Davison, Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy, David Bradley. It's like a moment where the story sucks, and then you get this little moment of, oh, that's nice. And I kind of get that with Theon in season 8, where it's like the story sucks, but I'm like, okay, well, there's something nice in there. But it's not what it should be. If you did Theon in season 8 and his arc fulfilled with great writing, it would be fucking incredible and probably make me emotional because of how amazing his character was in the early parts of Game of Thrones. That's kind of my take on it, is that it should have been so much better than it was. And so it's like you could say he's a redeeming factor, but it's not redeeming enough.
No.
It's so far short of what it should be. Because Theon, when Theon was great, was one of the best things about the story. Because he gets it's almost like he gets two very distinctly great character arcs, in the sense you get early Theon and you get Reek as well. And it's like two amazing characters in one person. Yeah. But it just, season 8 doesn't do enough to give us what we need. And the way he dies is stupid. It's like really dumb.
Yeah, it's a really bad death. It's a really bad one. It's one of the worst.
Yeah.
Because of the one time when a character does die, and they shouldn't, because of the armor they have. He should have been stabbed in the neck. They don't do that for some reason.
It's also crazy how all those White Walkers just allow him to run towards the Night King.
Oh, because he's got this. They know he's got this.
Yeah, they've watched the early seasons. They know how pathetic he is. Season 1 to 8, Samwell Tarly.
He's a really solid character throughout. I think once it gets to season 7, it's probably like where he doesn't ever really regress. He's just sort of not as strong as he used to be. They don't really ruin him in major ways. The problem is, it's just he's not really that relevant to things other than knowing who Jon really is. But again, I
think the worst things about Sam are how he saves Jorah Mormont and how he survives the long night.
Yeah. In terms of character, he's sort of just the same throughout. He doesn't really go on like a massive groundbreaking arc in the last couple seasons, even though he kind of should, considering his brother and father died because of Dany. He kind of gets that one scene and then it's never really brought up again.
Yeah,
even though it definitely
gets I would say he gets the second best scene of the season.
It's he really should have said something about Danny to John. The fact that he doesn't have a scene with John. He doesn't get a scene with John at all in the last episode at all, does he?
No.
Or even in the previous episode.
Yeah, I think the last time they talk is when he tells John that they're going to have a baby, which is just before John leaves Winterfell.
Yeah. And they're still obviously around because he's in the fucking meeting at the end. But when they make Bran king, so the fact that John doesn't talk to him is really weird, considering they've known each other since the first season. Okay. Again, a character that, while he hasn't regressed, it's just emphasised how unimportant they are to the plot and to the writers, how little impact they have on the characters as the season goes. It's just so weird.
It's frustrating because they start with some potential with Sam with causing a rift between Danny and John, but then they just don't do anything with it.
Yeah, because they don't want to. They want to just put the little nugget there, and that basically be like just it.
Mm.
And it's just like, okay, that's what you want to do, I guess.
Sam is really well done throughout the show for the most part. It's just like eventually he just peters out. Like once it's sort of, I think it's the episode where he steals the sword from his dad. It's kind of like that's when he sort of loses things, and he just sort of like from then on he's just sort of there, says some quote unquote comedic lines, is used as a tool for the show, just sort of does things, says things, and then exists. And then I really don't like the way he becomes Grand Maester. I think it's just we have decided that Sam is going to be the Grand Maester because that would be a fitting ending, and there's no real process to it. I don't have much to say, really. He kind of like all of his character fulfilled itself at the end of season 4, really. That's when it all happened. And so everything after that is just extra. Season 1 to season 8, Bran Stark.
Oh, Jesus Christ. A simple story with him. He goes on this massive journey for the first 4 seasons. He's then not in season 5. He comes back in season 6 and discovers a massive thing about a major player in the show. And then, for some reason, they decided to make him a shell for the last 2 seasons. And then he becomes king. For no reason, because I guess he was the big event that happened at the end of the last episode, and they think that's a great story because reasons. I was sick of him, I was bored of him, I was annoyed by him, I was angry with him because of who he just became. And the thing with Bran, he's not that interesting as a character for the whole show. He has moments and little bits and bobs here that are like, ooh, interesting, ooh, that's cool, ooh, narratively, I get it, and it's interweaved with other characters. But for the most part, especially the second half of the show, considering he's not in one of the seasons, I don't care about Bran at all. I simply just do not care. Just what a waste of time.
Kind of similar to what I said about Danny, in the sense that he's one of the characters that not having the inner monologue really harms him. Because understanding what he's thinking and what he's feeling about all of his situations, like being, early on, him being pushed out of that tower and becoming crippled is such an interesting plot point. And it impacts so many characters in a great way. And then the idea, I know that Tyrion spoke about it and how did this cripple do this? The idea that this crippled, boy has to become acting Lord of Winterfell, then travel all the way to Beyond the Wall to the Cave of the Three-Eyed Raven, and then come all the way back It is an interesting idea. It's just, as I said, firstly, not having all that inner monologue, not having all of those really interesting dreams that he has in the novels, and just having him be this very vacant boy, and then having him turn into this AI generated robot of a man.
It's literally ChatGPT. And they make him king.
Yeah. And that, like, things like him saying to Sansa, like, oh, it was so beautiful the night you were raped, like that sort of thing. It's just disgusting. And then the whole thing of him saying, I can't be lord of anything, I don't want anything, and then when they say for him to be king, he's like, why do you think I came all this way?
Such a fucking shit line.
Yeah.
It worked.
And it's the same thing as I said about Sophie Turner and Maisie Williams. When the writing is bad, the actor can't pull it off. He can't carry it.
He's like a lot of child actors who were a lot stronger when they were younger, because now they have to add elements to their performances as an adult.
But also, he's having to play a character that doesn't have a personality.
It's him and Maisie Williams, who were so much stronger as like children. But as they got older, they just took the worst aspect of their performances and then just became horrific actors for the most part.
As I said, you've also got to remember he's not playing Bran anymore. He's playing the Three-Eyed Raven. He has to play this person who's not a person. And it's just so bizarre.
Sure thing. DD. Sure thing.
Yeah, crazy.
What a waste of time. Let Theon run to his death.
Even before that happens, though, like in season 6, when he's playing Bran, he's just exposition machine. He doesn't have any character.
It's like he's still not a character there, but it's different because he's not a shell. He's just not He's just not really a character at that point.
Like, do you remember in season 3 when they were in the Queen's Crown Tower and Jojen was like, "You're a warg, Bran." You know, that moment when he realizes that he can actually influence events despite being a cripple is actually really interesting.
Nothing with it.
Yeah.
He used the power once in the Long Night, and it didn't do anything.
He kills Locke in season 4 with Hodor. He does that. Which is ironic because he's avenging the guy who cut off Jaime's hand and Jaime pushed Bran from the tower. So it's really interesting that happened like that.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, that ending for Bran is insane and it sucks.
Oh, it's horrific. It's like really just what on earth is wrong with you?
I remember because I watched season 8 with Dan, and Bran was his least favorite character. So when he became king, Dan was like, "What the fuck? Why is Bran the king?
Why not Gendry?
Of all characters."
Who's like has legitimate claim to the throne. He's literally Robert Baratheon's bastard child.
Yeah. They try to go down this weird like democracy thing, but the funny thing about that is that because Bran and Sansa are, you know, siblings, it means the Starks have full control of Westeros, which I don't think any of the houses would agree with. I think it's crazy that they agreed to that.
Because the writers are stupid. They're dumb.
Yep.
That's why.
Season 2 to Season 8, Brienne of Tarth.
They kind of just... They don't ruin her, but they just sort of, like, fuck with her. Like, because she doesn't do anything in the last 2 episodes at all. She's not a part of events. But in episode 4, they just decide, you know what, we're going to just fuck with you. And that's what we're going to end your character with. And that's sort of it.
Which sucks, because she has the best scene of the season.
Yeah. And then that's ruined because of what Jaime does.
Yeah.
Just should have died multiple times in the Long Night. Doesn't really do anything. Doesn't have a role post the Long Night. And they give her Jaime for a night, and then he leaves because he loves Cersei, and she pulls her eyes out like really badly, and it's just humiliating.
if you delete her fight with the Hound, you delete her killing Stannis, and you delete everything after episode 2 of season 8, I'd be like, wow, what a great character.
But the thing is, those even then, it's like, what are we resolving? What does it end in? What's the ending for her? Nothing really, because they don't care at that point. They've given up trying to really give her any breadth of sort of like a resolution for her journey that she's been on. She's a knight, sure, but in this world, like, what's her narrative ending? Is it literally just that, and that's it? I guess.
Well, I mean, the way they set up her character is the idea that she is treated with all of the scorn of being a woman who acts and looks like a man, but is not given any of the privileges of being a man.
Yeah.
But Catelyn and Jaime see her true self, and that's what really drives her. And Podrick as well. It's Catelyn, Jaime, and Podrick. They see her true self. And that all manifests with, her being knighted. That's such a huge moment for her because it's something that she's always aspired to be, but thought she never could be because of misogyny. But Jaime, because of his power, gives that to her. And it's such a beautiful moment. And then, as you say, they fucking ruin it. They ruin it.
Yeah.
And so her story ends just like with her, being betrayed. And that's it.
What a great story.
Yeah. It's a shame because, like, in season 2 and 3, she's so good. She's one of the best side characters in the show.
Yeah. Great stuff. Just great. Great stuff. Well done, guys.
Yeah. Season 1 to season 8, Varys.
Probably Danny has the decision, but Varys is ruined in record time. It's the most smallest time frame of let's completely ruin this character in fast paced opening 10 minutes. He doesn't leave. He actively talks with traitorism in public, where people can see him talking to people.
Yeah, he commits treason in public to the person who's in love with the queen.
When anyone could be watching. And then does everything against what he is as a person and doesn't leave as soon as he feels like he's going to be caught and killed. He just decides to be allowed to be taken and then says, I hope I deserved it. Truly, I do.
Gets rid of, he writes treasonous letters inside the castle and then hides them like a teenager closing his tabs.
Yeah. And then he's killed.
And gets burned for it.
He doesn't even get a final, word in. Yeah. They just ruin him in record time in one episode in 15 minutes, and then that's it.
You know something about this season that's really disappointing that they never do with Varys is they never have him talk about Littlefinger's death. Especially given that Varys literally arrives in Winterfell the episode after Littlefinger's killed. There's not one scene where Varys, acknowledges that Littlefinger just died where he's arrived to. Can you imagine a scene where Varys finds Littlefinger's corpse? Can you imagine how powerful that could be? Having Conleth Hill play that scene without dialogue, just reacting to seeing Littlefinger dead. That complexity of him being an old friend but also a rival. That could have been so interesting, but it's not. It just doesn't happen. They never talk about it.
Yeah.
And it's crazy, because remember how fucking amazing he was in Season 1 and 2? Varys back then? How just the impact he had, the dialogue, all his scenes, they were just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful character. The way that he claims to fight for the good of the realm, but does it in such a sly and manipulative way. It's fascinating. It's really fascinating. And they set up in the first season his connection with Illyrium Apatis and like the Mummer's Dragon. But of course they cut the whole young Griff, John Connington story, so Varys doesn't have that. And so instead, they have him side with Daenerys, but then they have him turn against Daenerys. It's very messy and confusing. And that's why we end up with what we end up with. And then they just have Varys betray her in a really stupid way, and then he burns for it. And yeah, it just makes him look really dumb. When he was one of the smartest characters in the world. Season 2 to Season 8, Gilly.
I mean, she was there. She was there. She was a decent character early on. Had a really decent, it was a decent enough romance with Cersei. But in the last, 2 seasons, it's kind of not really much to talk about. They have a child.
I think she, in Season 2 and Season 3, she's great for Sam's character.
Mm-hmm.
And then in Season 6, she does get that one episode at Horn Hill where she stands up to Randall Tarly, which is actually a great scene. It was like the best moment it was like the best episode of Season 6, mainly because of that.
Yeah. I don't really have much else to say. It's sort of then there's not much development post sort of the last couple seasons.
Something that I don't understand is why they didn't have her have any scenes with other wildling characters. Obviously they have her interact with Ygritte in Season 4. There's that one scene in Molestown, but I'm talking about actually talking with them. We don't have scenes with her and Tom and Giantsbane, for example, talking about what it's like to be a wildling. There's none of that at all. I think there was potential there. Anyway, Season 1 to Season 8, Sandor Clegane, the Hound.
Really cool side character for a good couple seasons, and the moment he's left to die is where it kind of all falls apart. And he isn't really a character, he's sort of like a punching bag of comedy because he's so just angry all the time and violent and just sort of fuck you, fucking piss on you, and I'll eat my chicken. But that was in the good part. But then it's just sort of that's all he is anymore. And then his character ends in the most embarrassing way because of a meme. It's alright, cool. Really interesting side character that could have been a good player in the final season, and he just sort of goes out with a bit of a whimper, really. Sort of tries to pass on a narrative to Arya, and it just doesn't mean anything. Even though she could have died and should have died multiple times.
He's a really great example of how the same events with different contexts make every bit of difference in a story, because the idea in the books that he was poisoned with a dart or a blade or whatever, and then is healed by some kind of maester, and then is on the Quiet Isle, compared to fucking falling down a rock cliff and having the bone in his leg exposed, and then somehow surviving. It's just different. It's completely different examples of resurrection and revival. And they brought him back to do what? To just, I don't know, have a Clegane Bowl. That's the reason he's brought back, so he can have Clegane Bowl with the Mountain. And that fight just sucks. Everything about it sucks. A lot of people compare the Hound to Shrek as a character, but I think here's the thing, right? The reason why that idea of him being disgruntled and not wanting anyone in his swamp works really well in the early parts of the show is because he's a multi-layered, multifaceted character with so much going on. Whereas, and that's the thing, is the reason why Shrek is a really good character, like, at the start, is the same thing as, like, there's so much going on. It's not just because he's a funny person. Him being a funny person is a byproduct of who he is and the experience he's been through. It's not just the fact that he has wit. The problem I have is that when you get to season 6 onwards, is that it kind of just becomes him cracking jokes, and it's not really focused on what matters about the Hound. Because what matters is when you watch Blackwater and you see him traumatized by fire, and you see him look at Joffrey and say, fuck the King's Guard, fuck the King. That is what matters to the Hound. That is what actually is... Those are the things that make him who he is. The way that he saves Sansa from danger, the way that he interacts with Arya and the Brotherhood in seasons 3 and 4. Those are the things that make the Hound who he is, not just, I am funny swear man.
Yeah.
And I want to kill my brother. And again, it's like kind of talking about positioning of characters. The Hound, the way he's positioned in the first 2 seasons as a minor character works brilliantly because of how, like, what is needed for the story. And him becoming more major in season 3 and 4 works really well because they actually earn that integration. They actually earn him becoming more prominent by adding things to his character that matter. But because he's a main character in seasons 6, 7, and 8, but they don't integrate that properly, it doesn't work the same way.
Yeah.
Very annoying. Very annoying how they recede away at his character. Season 1 to season 8, Sir Bronn of the Blackwater.
Why does he end up Master of God? Fucking
sellsword.
Really cool, really cool, fun character in the early seasons. Outstays his welcome, comes back for no reason, and is just a cock joke machine, and then doesn't do anything in the last season other than punch Tyrion in the face, and then he's the Master of Coin. What a weird ending for his character. Just, oh god.
The way he interacts with Jaime and Tyrion is so jarring.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. I think I've already said everything I need to say about Bronn. He's a really fun, and you like they use him well as a side character throughout seasons 1 to 4. And then after that, it just becomes excessive. Everything becomes excessive.
It's an absolute just annoyance just throughout the entire of anything he's in the sort of like last season. It's just like, fucking come on.
Yeah, it's the moment that Jaime invites him to go to Dorne. That's when everything just is like, why are we doing this? What is the point of this?
Yeah, what's the point?
You want a good girl, but you need a bad pussy. Speaking of another character who's reduced to comedy, Tormund Giantsbane from seasons 3 to 8.
Fucking, I don't know. I'm running out of like things to say, just to say about anybody.
Well, look, in 3, 4,
he's a joke.
And 5.
He's just a joke in the end. Like, what he is a massive joke in the end, and that's it. He wants to fuck Brienne, and that's his character.
It's a shame, because in seasons 3, 4, and 5, he's great. He's genuinely amazing in those seasons.
Yeah, but, you know, he wants to fuck Brienne.
You, like, fucking... It's crazy, because we're talking about an episode that overall we actually really don't like. But... do you remember in The Children when he talks to Jon and he's like, she belongs in the North, the real North, when he tells him to burn Ygritte there? Mm-hmm. It's like, that is Tormund. That's such a great character. And then like that scene where Jon unchains him in season 5, it's actually like there's so much there. And then it's like as soon as he meets Brienne of Tarth, everything just fucks up. Just as you say, just a joke.
big joke, massive big joke. So
talks about being milked by a giant and then drinks milk from his bone.
Yeah.
Gendry Baratheon of Storm's End.
He gets nothing to say in the final scene. Even though literally he's probably the best candidate in that meeting to be king.
Gendry, early on, he was a very minor character in the first season. He was there for Ned Stark's investigation. And then, when you get to season 2, which is peak, at Harrenhal, Gendry is, like, genuinely fun, interesting, great conversations with Arya. Like, the dynamic is awesome. And then season 3 with the Brotherhood Without Banners is great. Like, that whole situation and that scene in season 3 when he says, you wouldn't be this, you'd be my lady. Like, there's so many parts of that of like, we aren't compatible because of who we are. But then it's once he gets taken to Dragonstone, something just happens, and it just becomes very strange. Because obviously they have merge him with Edric Storm's character, and they have the leeches scene, and they have him meet Davos Seaworth, and then he rows away, and then he comes back in season 7, somehow, is under the nose of Cersei. The season 7 stuff is so strange with him going beyond the wall. And then season 8, he loves Arya, has sex with her, wants to marry her. She says no, he's Lord of Storm's End, and then that's it. What was that Joe Dempsey said? He's like, character development? Nah, story.
Do you have good writing? No, we've got hype moments and aura.
Yeah,
right.
It's weird. Gendry is weird in season 8.
Yeah, he just... Why did they bring him back? Just why? They didn't need to. They legit didn't need to at all.
It's all because of the rowing memes. That's the reason.
Yeah, I thought you were still rowing.
Season 1 to 8, Jorah Mormont.
Very unsatisfying ending for a character that has had a lot of really strong moments throughout.
He's the best thing about Dany's arc in the East, easily.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it doesn't just quite hit in the way you kind of would hope for with a character like that. But there's some really good moments throughout, and unfortunately, his last episode sort of like doesn't really give him the justice of ending he deserved.
This might be a weird thing to say, but it's just a very boring ending.
Yeah, there's nothing impactful about it in terms of like him protecting Dany. It's sort of really unsatisfying to watch in that regard because it's not what it should have been. Mainly because the episode's so terrible.
Well, it's just like, what is the easiest and laziest way to have Jorah Mormont die? Oh, he defends his queen. Yeah.
They couldn't even do it like in a glorious way. Like he just kills a bunch of them in a row, but slowly gets like stabbed. A bit like Barrister, but it's not as shit. Doing like that, but build to it properly, unlike they didn't do it there.
I do think his arc throughout the show isn't ruined, though. Thankfully,
no,
it actually holds.
I think it holds up.
Holds up really well.
Yeah.
Holds up really well. Like, season 5 and bits of 6, like, he actually is doing a lot of really good stuff in the show.
Yeah,
unlike a lot of other characters that weren't.
He's not fucked with massively in comparison.
Yeah. And, like, season 1, like, that whole intrigue in season 1 where he's trying to have Daenerys killed, but then he chooses against it. It's so interesting, and the way that ties into the small council and like makes the world feel connected. And then that whole scene in season 4 when it comes back to bite him, and he's like, I did everything for you. I loved you, Khaleesi. Like, that whole thing is so captivating. But then it's once, like, you know, and then his grayscale gets resolved in a really stupid way. But it just kind of feels like once he's back, he just sort of fades into the background and he just isn't important anymore. Yeah, boring ending for Jorah. Okay. Podrick Payne, Season 2 to Season 8.
He's the best character. Unironically, but like the one character who doesn't annoy me at all in like from start to finish. So like he's very simple, not really a major character in any way. He's just a very simple person, but it's not annoying because he's not.
The worst thing I can say about Podrick is that he is standing and existing in scenes that are bad because of other characters.
Yeah.
But that's not his fault.
No. He has the second best scene in the whole season. And it is because of him.
Yeah, he sings a song.
Yeah, and it's really good. Yeah, he's just a really funny character throughout the season, and with Tyrion he has a decent connection with, and they have some decent scenes together.
And what I was saying before about Missandei and Grey Worm, about how your character's position matters. I think that's the reason why Podrick works so well, is because they never put him out of position. He's always in the right role.
Yeah. I would say so. I would agree.
And he also has a threesome.
Yeah.
And now he's squire to the King of Westeros.
Good for him.
It's a great start with him saving Tyrion in the Blackwater, and it's a good ending. I think my favorite Podrick scene in the show is Season 5 with Brienne, the one they have where she talks about Renly Baratheon. I think that scene is so powerful. But then also his goodbye to Tyrion in Season 4 as well. That's another great one. Season 2 to Season 8, Ed, who dies saving Sam in the Long Night.
Not really much of a death, it just sort of happens. It's like quick, shock value kind of death. And he's sort of, out of the characters from The Wall, he was weirdly, because he's the one that survived Watchers on the Wall.
Yes.
The others all died, who I felt more for. Mainly because I think the show just declined. From that point onwards is where the show sort of ended for me, in a realistic capacity of quality. Still was okay in parts, obviously, but there's a clear difference from when that episode starts to end and the episodes after it. I never really. He was fine. He wasn't a bad character, but he also wasn't like a deep character.
I think that's what's really weird about Ed in the show, is that in the books he's one of the funniest characters and has so many great lines, and they just take away so much of that, and I don't know why. I feel like it would be optimal for a TV show to have a character like that that's really funny all the time, and for some reason they just don't do it.
Well, they try to do that with Tormund. That's what they try to do, and it's not a good job.
Yeah, true. Yeah. But like Ed has his funny moments, but it's just not the same. It's nowhere near as much as in the source material, and I just don't get it. I don't get why they did that.
Yeah, I don't have much else to say, because I think the other characters from The Wall I felt more strong. Felt more strongly towards.
Yeah, again, like most of these characters, he's kind of at his peak at the start, like where he's just giving Sam shit, and it's really funny at the start of the show, like at Season 2. Oh, let me guess, you read it in a book. Beric Dondarrion, season... Well, technically he's in Season 1, he has one scene with Ned Stark, but really Season 3 to 8.
He was there. It's just... When we get...
So let's talk... You have to talk about the reason why the Lord of Light kept him alive. That's the main thing of his character.
Well, to die. To protect Arya, I guess. That was the point. interpretation. We have to interpret that because that's what happened.
The Lord of Light wants to kill the Night King because fire versus ice, I suppose. But surely, if that's the case, wouldn't Beric Dondarrion have more like direct involvement of the Night King's death and not just die stupidly in a doorway?
Ah, well, yeah.
The actor has a great voice.
Yeah, it's really good. Really good voice. Really good voice. Really enjoyable.
Season 1 to season 8, all the Dothraki.
They said that pretty much all of them were dead in episode 3. The next episode, the show then said half are gone. That's just funny.
Yeah, I think the Dothraki culture in the early seasons, especially season 1, is so well done. Like, it's really interesting, well developed. There's so many different dynamics. And then you get to season 6, and everything just fucking, like, they just turn into this really cartoonish version of themselves.
They're just crazy. Not from Westeros army, who are, like, just, cool. Yes.
Season 6 to season 8, Lyanna Mormont.
She runs and dies because, she's sort of just like, she's a person in the world, and that's sort of it. And she doesn't have a character. There's nothing there.
She's got that one scene with Jorah where she's like, "Oh, welcome back to the family."
There's that,
She bosses around men that are bigger than her.
Yeah.
And then she has a really cartoonish death.
I would say horrifically terrible.
Yep.
She then comes back to life, and then we never see her again. Other than when she's burnt alive. Or burnt. No, when she's just burnt, not alive.
She's just burned. Season 4 to season 8, Jon Royce. Mr. Slitheen.
He was also just a nothing really character for the most part.
He laughs when Sam suggests that they have a democracy.
Oh wow, what a stupid idea that is.
The people?
Oh yeah, the people we protected so they could do stuff like this. Yeah. Fucking stupid fucking scene. What a fucking stupid scene that is. It's the worst scene of the show.
Yeah. It's annoying because when we were talking about Sansa before, his introduction scene is actually really interesting. The way that Littlefinger and Sansa use not only his loyalty to Ned Stark, but also the fact that his son died to the White Walkers in the first scene of season 1. And they gaslight him, and it's really interesting. But then, that's never paid off. Like, Sansa never tells Jon Royce that she lied to him. Like, why do they not do that? Surely, at some point, she would confess that she did it because Littlefinger, had her under control.
I don't fucking care. I don't care about anymore. I don't care for him anymore. Yeah. He's a nothing. All his scenes in World War III were better than all his scenes post that scene with Sansa.
True.
Easily.
The best thing he does is that he turns little sweet Robin Arryn from a snot-nosed kid into a man. That's the best thing he does.
I guess so, and that all happened off screen. The Duffer Brothers special.
Yep. Yep. Okay, season 6 to season 8, Euron Greyjoy.
I think it's pretty great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, what a fun character that is. Oh, he's just so funny. He's so just witty and funny, and he got to fuck the queen. Wow. Good on him.
Yeah, and he got to kill... I'm the man who killed Jaime Lannister.
I'm the man who killed Jaime. Yeah, you fucking shut the fuck up. What a strange character.
He bullseyed a dragon.
In terms of characters achieving things, he might be one of the best characters ever in Game of Thrones history.
Survived Old Valyria, won the Sea Stone chair, and then fucked the Queen, killed a dragon, killed Jaime. Like, holy shit, he did so much.
Yeah. It's like, in terms of just ignoring the character part, he achieves so much of his goals somehow. He killed. he killed and then became king, even though he admitted to killing someone, and he was like, "Oh, okay." No one cared when he killed someone.
The only way I can explain how he survives swimming from his burning boat all the way to Jaime on the shore is that he's actually a kraken, for real.
No, that's just pure motivation to kill Jaime Lannister. He knew he would be there. He knew he'd be there.
The problem with Euron Greyjoy is that he was dead on arrival. He never had a good character.
No, did he? I don't even know if he had one good line.
I guess there's the scene on the bridge where he kills Balon. It's not bad.
I guess. But it was kind of stupid. It was kind of dumb. That no one saw it at all, and no one suspected anything until he said he did it.
Yeah, because I think it's implied in the books that he hired a faceless man to do it.
Why not do that?
Whereas in the show, he just strolls up to Pike and just goes, "Hello there."
Why do it by yourself? Why actually do it yourself and then admit to doing it? Does he not think more than the two people who leave? Does he not think someone else would be like, you know what? I don't think that was a good thing to do.
The whole thing is that because Aeron Greyjoy, who's hardly in the show at all, but he's a point of view character in the books, and he's like, I know my brother Euron. I know that he did this. There's an actual perspective that it's like I can't prove it, and people won't believe it, but I know that he did this. I'm the person who is the most equipped to understand that my brother killed my other brother. But it's just that doesn't exist. He just goes and does it. And gets away with it. Anyway. Season 3 to Season 8. Qyburn.
Oh, Qyburn. Oh, he got smashed into a rock.
You know what's kind of thematically circular is that at the start of his story, he almost gets killed by the mountain in Harrenhal. And then at the end of the story, he gets killed by the mountain.
Great character. What a brilliant character. What an ending. He got his head smashed into a wall.
Yeah.
You know, who fucking cares? Who fucking cares about Qyburn anymore? It's like, what fucking... Who fucking cares? It's like... They did nothing with him in the final season except slam him into a fucking wall. They didn't fucking care one bit about him.
He's so good with Jaime in Season 3, and then when he gets to King's Landing, he just becomes a tool for Cersei, and that's it.
He's literally a plot device to do things that she needs. And I guess he's sort of creepy. Yes, it's not a pleasant sound. And then fucking Tyrion fucking goes, I don't want to hear it, Qyburn.
Oh yeah, that whole conversation with Tyrion is stupid.
Fucking can't write dialogue to save your fucking ass.
Yep. Gregor Clegane the Mountain, Season 1 to Season 8.
Oh, he falls off and goes into the fire. That's his story. It's a great story. One of the greatest stories ever told. Fucking the Hound hates fire, so he jumps into fire to kill his brother.
I find it funny how you can somehow ruin a character that doesn't have a character.
He's a zombie, and they ruined his character. To be fair, that's
like even in
that wasn't the only zombie they ruined.
I mean, the thing is though, the most interesting thing about the Mountain is that it's that whole thing where he raped and killed Elia Martell, like with Oberyn. That's the most interesting thing about his character. On top of also the fact that he burned the Hound's face when they were kids.
Of Oberyn's character in season 4.
Yeah, and also that obviously with the Hound, when they were kids, right? With putting his face in the fire. So it's like, it's the impact that he has on other people because of his rage. But, like you say, he's just a mindless zombie and then falls.
Well, yeah, he gets speared into fire, like Mick Foley and Edge.
Yeah.
He gets Mick Foleyed into a flaming table, and that's his story.
Yep.
It's not quite WrestleMania, but oh well.
Mick Foley has a better character than the Mountain, though.
Oh, well, yeah. Because he can say things and do things, and it's not part of the worst season of television ever.
Yeah. We're going to skip past Ellis Karstark, Maester Vulcan, and Ned Umber, because they did absolutely nothing. Ned Umber got fucking killed by the White Walkers, so whatever. Season 2 to Season 8, Yara Greyjoy.
What a weird final thing to say in that meeting scene.
She was so good in Season 2.
Yeah, really good.
But literally only Season 2. Everything else, she sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you remember that scene in Winterfell when she's like, "You're always a cunt, Theon, and you still are." Like that was so good. The way that Theon took over the most important castle in the north, and she still didn't respect him. It was hilarious. And now she's supporting Dany, which I just don't understand. There's that whole thing where Theon rescues her from Euron, and then yeah, that's it. We never see her reaction to the fact that Theon was killed. We never see that. That's probably really important.
I would probably say so, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we won't talk about Robin Arryn or the Prince of Dawn. They don't matter. They just... whatever. Robin Arryn grew up. Season 3 to Season 8, Edmure Tully. What a joke.
What a fucking joke.
Again, he was a massive part of the Red Wedding, and then he's just a joke at the end of the show.
He was like in prison for like years. Never got to see his wife after the wedding day. Is like literally a prisoner and like is probably tortured and like is very depressed.
He does this really cool thing where he takes over like he's the reason Jaime's able to overtake Riverrun. It's actually a really interesting scene, and like they don't make him like seem like he actually matters after that. They just treat him like a joke.
I would like
regardless.
to also point out that his entire family was murdered for the most part.
Yeah.
His sister was murdered, and
his uncle was murdered. In a stupid way, obviously. The Blackfish ran back inside.
Yeah, and was a part of one of the biggest I can't even fucking talk anymore. Massacre in the show that didn't happen in the last season.
Yeah.
In terms of, and has this speech, "My lords and ladies, I suppose this is the most important moment of our lives. What we decide today will reverberate through the annals of history. I stand before you as one of your senior lords in the country, a veteran of 2 wars. I'd like to think my experience has led to some small skill in statecraft and understand that fuck you is what Sansa says after that. Sit down." Fuck you, Sansa, you fucking bitch.
Yep. Harry Strickland and the Golden Company.
Horses? 2000. That's a midweight. That's a very weird name for a single horse. 2000. Who fucking cares? He's a fucking plot device army. Who cares? Move on.
the greatest army in the world.
Move on.
Better than the Night's Watch, better than the Knights of the Vale, better than the Dothraki. The greatest army in the world mean nothing. The Night King and the White Walkers.
They were meant to be the whole point of the show and what it means to fight death and ignore petty squabbles about a throne when that won't matter when everyone is dead and zombies.
It's a great metaphor for Armageddon and climate change and all of those things. And war as well.
Yeah. Instead, they become a one-note army with a hive mind.
A hive mind. Yeah.
And is easily killed because of bullshit writing.
One dagger.
He got faked out and died and has ego and mistakes.
It was like during, like, if it's Vince McMahon booking, it was a distraction roll-up pin. That's what it was.
It was a schoolboy roll-up pin. That won the day. Yeah. Thanks to Arya Stark, the hidden assassin who knew about these guys days ago. What an absolute waste of time.
Yeah. Think about the symbolism of this, right? So, what is the reason why the Night King can't be burned by Dragonfire, but can be killed by Dragonglass?
Because fuck you, that's why. We can do whatever the fuck we want.
Well, if we're going to go by Ice and Fire prophecy, or whatever you want to call it, I think it matters who is doing it. And that is the reason.
Think so?
That is the reason why initially it was going to be Daenerys can't kill the Night King, but Jon Snow can, because he is the true representation of fire, not her. But instead, Dave and Dan had Arya do it. Because they just felt like it would be too predictable.
Thank you so much.
Let's talk about the dragons. Viserion, Rhaegal, and Drogon. This is their worst season, isn't it? Easily. The dragons were terrible in this season.
They were, and one of them became so smart they understood, like, symbolism.
Yep. Rhaegal got shot, like, out of thin air.
That is plot. You know what that is? That's not plot armor. That's plot poison.
Yeah, plot poison.
When the show conspires to get you killed.
In a really ridiculous way.
Exactly. Yeah, everything goes against it when it shouldn't have happened, but it does. It's just
Viserion,
as plot armor.
Jon yells at Viserion, and then Viserion
thinks
dies.
He killed it that way.
I think Dany should have grieved more for Viserion's death after the long night. Like, even though it had been turned into a White Walker dragon, it's still her child.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, we have the direwolves. I think the only one was Ghost, because Nymeria's gone off somewhere. And, of course, Summer's dead, Shaggy Dog's dead, Grey Wind is dead, and Lady is dead. So we got Ghost, and there's that really terrible scene where Jon doesn't pat Ghost, which is really sad.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay. Wow. That took ages. It took like 3 hours.
It did, and most of it was us going, fuck this show.
Yeah. Right. Standout main character from Season 8. This has to be a Baratheon, a Stark, a Lannister, a Targaryen, a bastard from those houses, or Theon.
I do have a choice. But there's not much options to pick from. That's the problem.
Well, last season you went with Jon Snow, but in a negative way.
Oh, that is true. I went standout of how standout-ish they were in badness. I haven't gone that way this time.
Who have you chosen?
I've chosen Theon. Because I think he's the one character, other than probably Jorah, who I can look at, and while they're not perfect in the whole 8 seasons, there's a finished narrative of sorts. I think that's worth saying.
Yeah, because I think the themes are still there. Like obviously the way it happens is dumb, but thematically, Theon defending Bran is great.
Outside of the things that happen in the scene, yes.
Yeah.
I think that's
the idea
and kind of moment. Unfortunately, literally everything. You can literally look at the 2 seconds where he goes, "You're a good man, Theon." And that's just like, just that little bit. Great. Ignore everything else.
Yeah.
And ignore the rest of the episode.
Yeah, because also gotta remember he had that stupid rescue mission with his sister.
He did, yeah.
That was just dumb.
That was dumb. Yeah. Really bad, dumb, stupid, fucking.
We're picking who the best character of the season is based on 2 seconds.
I mean, yeah, it's Game of Thrones season 8.
Yeah. Standout location's difficult because there's not that many. I have gone for the last hearth, and the reason why is it's the only place that doesn't have a terrible scene.
Huh.
I mean, like Ned Umber being killed, and that whole like the Night's Watch and the Wildlings bumping into each other. Like, it's not good. It's just the only location that feels unscathed, whereas everything at Winterfell and King's Landing was just diabolical.
So, I've gone for, I guess in the same way I went for Jon last season, I've gone for King's Landing. Because it is the city where a single decision happens that ruins everything. So it is significantly the one place where everything is ruined. And literally ruined, because Dany destroys it all.
Yeah. I guess we technically do get Castle Black at the end of the season, but that scene sucks as well.
That also does very much suck, yeah. Love him, just great stuff. Yeah, because you have Dany heel turn plus her death, which is like the 2 significant parts of the location that sort of ruin everyone and everything. The closest is obviously Winterfell, but they do it in like 1 episode, and then that's it. They move on, and no one cares anymore.
You know what's something that really surprised me that I don't understand is why they didn't include Dragonstone in the title sequence.
Yeah, because they were also there for a good chunk of the season, by the way.
I've literally only just realised that. Yeah, that's so strange.
That's very. I guess they didn't have the budget in the title sequence to do 4.
What do you mean? It's the biggest show in the world.
No, that extra couple million needed to go towards the dragons getting shot in the sky. And the extra fire in King's Landing. And the more burning of innocents extras.
Yeah.
That's what it went for.
But I also wouldn't go for Dragonstone either, because that was shit too.
Yeah. Other than that, though, great place. Great.
Yeah. Standout side character.
This was easy
for me. It's
Podrick.
It's Podrick Payne.
Yeah, it's Podrick.
Yeah.
He can sing and he can fuck. What else do you need? What else do you need as a side character?
But there's also like a genuine moment where Brienne is feeling uncomfortable and Podrick talks to her in a way it's like he understands her.
He's the only character
actual character.
He's the one character I don't hate. At the end of the show, he's the one character I don't hate.
Standout music track. It was between two for me. I actually have gone against what I initially thought I was going to choose. I was initially going to choose The Night King because it's a long, epic track. But then I sort of thought about the meaning behind music, and I think this is really where the latter parts of the show fail Raymond Javadi, is the sense that some of his music is attached to scenes that just don't work. And so whenever I listen to the Night King theme, I only think about what I'm seeing when I'm watching the episode, and that detracts massively from the song. So the song I've gone for is A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, because that song actually does work with the scene that it's scoring. And it's a really beautiful piece of music.
I've gone for a track where it's something I'm thinking of rather than what it's a part of. What I'm thinking is the potential of the track along with what this season should have been. And how in its final moments this track plays. It's not the last track, it's the one before. And I think we talked about it before the final episode. I think we listened to it before. But it's a part of that final scene. And it makes, ignoring the actual material of the show, it makes me think, if I ignore it, of what could have been the final scene of the show. I've gone for The Last of the Starks. Because I think when previous themes are reincorporated in different ways, especially when you're getting to the biggest example I can get that happened very recently was in the last episode and last scene of Andor, where the main theme is there. Also, like, it's a previous theme from the previous season that is played, and it's slow build up with theme that is just so perfectly done. And it's the same here. The difference, unfortunately, is that the show sucks. But this track, I think, when I'm just listening to it, I'm imagining a different universe where the show ends perfectly, or even just satisfies the things that I want from it. And I think, man, what a beautiful constructed track for what could have been. And I think, unlike other tracks where I can't help but think about the scene, this is the one track where I'm like, it's a part of a scene that is absolutely terrible, which is the final couple moments of the show. But man, is it a beautiful, beautiful track of of the Starks theme, and it's just really great. It's just so good.
Standout worst thing about season 8.
This was very easy. This was actually the first thing out of all of them I wrote down. And I've said it multiple times during it, but you can go first.
I want you to go first.
Okay, it's Dany's heel turn ruining everyone's endings. Literally ruins everyone who's alive. All their endings get ruined. Not a single person who has, like, more than just a little bit of significance. They're all ruined. Gendry's ruined. Bran's ruined. Sansa's ruined. Arya, Jon, Tyrion, Grey Worm, Davos literally becomes nothing. They even ruin characters who literally have almost nothing to do. Like, a Greyjoy says, "Oh, but we were loyal to her." Fuck you, you fucking dickhead. Like, I've said it multiple times during this review. There's not a single character shift and decision that ruins more things than this. It's this moment. And it's infamous. The show is now infamous, not because of the first 4 seasons, but this is now more significant because everyone knows about the bells and the moment Dany kills every innocent person in King's Landing. It's a meme in of itself outside of the show. And everyone talks about this moment when they think about the final season. It's this singular moment. And for me, it is just easily, in terms of a single solitary moment in a TV show, it has the biggest impact that destroys everyone. And I cannot believe they've done this.
Yeah. People might think this is a cop-out answer, but for me, the standout worst thing about Season 8 is David Benioff and Dan Weiss.
Oh, you cop out. No, I don't disagree.
Everything bad that happens in this season is almost entirely because of those two. When you think of all of the things that go wrong, they pretty much go wrong because those two decided to do the show this way. Because they influence all the bad things that were written in the first 2 episodes, and then they actually write and direct the last 4. I mean, they direct the last episode as well, but they write everything in the last 4 episodes. They are the worst thing about Season 8. Because there was a lot of other people that were capable of making a great last season that were working on it. I think they are the reason that it fucking sucks. They are the reason the season is short. They are the reason why the show is cut off short and rushed. They are the reason why the plot points don't make sense. They are the reason why the show wasn't adapted effectively. They are the reason why dialogue is just diabolical. They are the reason why Season 8 failed. It's their fault. Really, in the end, it is their fault. Episode ranking.
Whoa.
What is your number 6?
I think this might be a curveball, but I think, to be fair, this was very close. But I think because of how I reacted to it, just like from start to finish, I think for me the worst episode is the Iron Throne.
Alrighty.
And the reason why is because I think from start it has not only the worst scene in the show, but I think its final moments I think are so insulting to everything that the show built and made that it decides Sansa is the Queen of Winterfell, Jon is abandoned back to the north with the wildlings, and Arya is Columbus. And Bran is the king because he wasn't anything and didn't want to be lord of anything. And he has the best story, apparently. What a complete and utter disaster. For me, it's the worst final episode a show has ever had that I've seen, easily. And I don't think anything is ever going to beat it. Because it would have to be something, like I said earlier, there has to be something so great for it to end up being so bad. Because you have to have that high of things working, clicking, and being so catastrophically like just on top of things for it to have a massive destruction whereas the tower of great story falls and wrecks everything. That's the only way you get anything close to this, because that's what this did. And the Iron Throne is a representative of what they wanted. They wanted this to be the end, and they wanted this to be how things were left off and what everything was set as when we get to last scene. I fundamentally think this is the worst episode of the whole show.
It's tricky because both episode 5 and 6, they're like the same.
It's like a point difference. It's like a 0.1% difference.
Yeah. I see them as being on the same level, but I have the bells at 6, and the reason why I had the bells at 6 is because of two things. Dany's heel turn, as we have discussed, is the worst decision ever made in a story. Like, it is the most destructive decision ever made. The other reason, and this is a personal one, is that it's the episode that ruins Jaime, and Jaime's my favorite. So, like, I have a personal vendetta against the bells. Not only, it's like two things. It's like, firstly, the most damaging decision in the story, and also the episode that ruins my favorite character. It's like both things in one, and that's why the bells are 6 for me. It's just like, it's like a double fuck you, on top of everything else that's bad about it. Your number 5.
Well, you just talked about it. It's the bells. Very close to being the worst episode for me. It's just... what it does have is the single worst thing in the whole show, which is Danny's decision. Bad plot armor, wrecks Varys in 10 minutes, Jaime's character is destroyed, Cersei does fuck all, Jon does fuck all, Davos does fuck all, Arya does fuck all and then doesn't die over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And then gets a horse in the end and rides off out of King's Landing, but then turns up at the beginning of the next episode in King's Landing. So why did you leave? It's so shit. And then Tyrion just stands there and just gasps the whole fucking time. The bells don't even mean surrender. They didn't... Tyrion knows that, and for some reason, that is the way things are. They do mean surrender for some reason, even though in Season 2 they didn't. The Bells is, in terms of cultural impact, it's like the biggest, worst episode ever. Like, it's the episode that is, like, defined what it meant to be a terrible episode in a once great show.
My number 5 is The Iron Throne. Again, it's one of the worst ever. It's on par with The Bells. I hate what they do with Jon Snow in this episode. I hate it so much. Oh, it boils my blood. And then, like, King Bran, Tyrion, Grey Worm, all of it. It's all terrible. Yeah. I think you kind of summed it up, though, but it's that whole ending for the Stark characters and just, everything sucks. Everything sucks. And yeah, it is like all of the scenes with Jon and also making Bran king, like those are why the Iron Throne is so hated. And like Daenerys' end and the Drogon burning the chair, I just can't believe
Symbolism.
Can't believe it. Yeah. What a terrible finale. What is your number 4?
My number 4 is The Long Night.
Snap.
I mean, this is the easiest one to put. Somehow not the worst episode of the season, even though you can't see it, and it ruins the whole point of the show.
I mean, it is the worst made episode, in terms of production.
Definitely. 100%. You can't see plot armor galore. Just Jon yelling at a dead dragon. Bran does fuck all. And then Arya fucking kills the Night King by teleporting behind it. And also you can't see.
Yeah.
What a waste of time. It's the most waste of time episode because you waste your time building the White Walkers.
Yeah. Yeah. What is the first standard of a visual story? Is the shot and focus. Can you see what's happening?
No, but look at all this darkness that you can see.
No, I can't see what's happening. And what is happening behind all that fog is dumb. The cutaways from people about to die, and then they don't show you how they survive, is fucking infuriating. Yeah. It's not fun to watch, and it's also really unsatisfying. Yeah. The only reason why it's better than the other two is because there's 2 seconds where Theon's character is good.
Yeah.
Yep. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. My number 3 is The Last of the Starks.
Nah.
Yeah, I mean, it's also terrible. I think it's probably the episode that invoked the most, like, reaction out of me when we watched it. Like, it's so frustrating and it's so infuriating.
The biggest moment is the fact they cut away from Bran revealing Jon being a Targaryen. That's like the peak of it.
Yeah, and also they kind of forgot about the Iron Fleet,
They kind of forgot about the Iron Fleet. Euron's forces.
Missandei's capture, the dumb drunk party, Jaime betraying Brienne. Like, it is so wrought with issues from start to finish, and there's not a single good scene. It's fucking awful.
It's terrible. Because it kind of goes on the radar because it's in between two diabolical episodes, but this is a really bad episode of TV, and it does unfix stuff and then says "fuck you, we've done that, fuck you now." Jon just keeps being nothing. Tyrion keeps being weird. Sansa is an asshole in this episode, and it's like it's delaying the inevitable of what is to come. And it's somehow just having this kind of episode in season, it being the third best episode, is just fucking fuck you.
Crazy, absolutely crazy that's what happens.
Yeah.
What is your number 2?
My number 2 is Winterfell.
Snap.
I mean, yeah. It's kind of a nothing episode, but it still has some dumb dialogue throughout.
It's the Jon and Dany scene that does it for me. It's fucking awful.
God. You are my queen.
Oh, place for the southern girl.
I've never known how to ride a dragon before.
If there's something that we've learned over seasons 5 to 8 is that Dave Hill is not a good dialogue writer.
No.
He's really not.
Quite terrible.
Yeah, I think most of the episode is really just drab, but there is redeeming qualities. I think Sam's scene with Daenerys is good. Sam's scenes with Jon is good. And then Jaime seeing Bran at the end is good. So it has a good ending, but like 80% of the episode is bad. And then, of course, our number 1, Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
Snap.
So it's actually, like, it does have some issues.
Yeah.
It's not a great episode, but it does have the best scene of the season and one of the best scenes of the second half of the show, and that's when Brienne is knighted by Jaime, which is, like, genuinely great.
It's the redeeming... It's the one good scene from the season that is worth having and actually praising.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the worst scene's probably Arya and Gendry, isn't it? It's just such a weird scene. You also get the Daenerys meme face as well.
It's just fucking... It's just... There's nothing else really going on, but at least there's the best scene. But it's such a weird, just sort of like, knowing what's coming. But at the time, you're sort of just like, as it came out, you're just thinking, oh man, cannot wait for the next episode and see where this has all been leading to. And then the long night happens. Then you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, so the fact that the best episode of Season 8 is still not good is crazy.
Yeah. Just... Oh, man.
What a waste.
What a waste.
What a waste of time.
What a waste of time.
Mm-hmm. So, that then brings us to the entire show as a whole.
Yay.
Let's rank the seasons.
Woo! Yay. We can actually talk about good stuff here, but first we've got to get rid of this shit. I think it's pretty obvious. It's Game of Thrones Season 8.
Yeah, snap.
One of the worst seasons of all time, and easily the worst season of the show. Redefined what it meant to be a bad ending.
Yeah, it's got almost no good scenes, and the bad scenes are insane. Diabolical. Absolutely crazy.
Indeed. And we never have to talk about it ever again.
I hope so.
Other than brief references.
It's like when someone gets cancelled and it's like you only refer to them in a historical context.
Or you do that really annoying thing that I hate when people censor a letter in their name.
Oh, yeah.
I hate that so fucking much because it doesn't mean anything or do anything.
Let's talk about season 8.
Yes, season X.
Yeah. Yeah, we've just told you everything that's wrong with it, so that's why it's at the bottom.
Yeah, we've been talking for like 3 hours, so you should know that by now.
Number 7 is season 7.
Snap! The second season.
I mean, like theoretically for any other show, this should be the worst one.
In any other season,
abysmal.
Any other season of any other show, this would be recognized as like, oh yeah, that was the worst season of the show, and that's where everything went to shit. But somehow it got worse.
It's got a few good scenes. I think Cersei killing Alari Sand, Olenna Tyrell confessing to Jaime, the Hound burying the bodies. You know, that there's that one conversation with Jorah and Jon. Like, there's a few good scenes.
But you know what scene is in here that actually does belong in season 8 is Littlefinger's death. That's a season 8 scene. That was a precursor of what was to come. Unironically.
Yeah.
Diabolical scene. Lady Sansa, I do not understand.
Or how about that fucking Beyond the Wall episode? All of that shit. God. Oh my god.
Gendry running when he doesn't know where the fuck he's going.
Yeah. The Night King aiming at the wrong dragon. Benjen Stark coming back. Jon's plot armor. Fucking, you are my queen, I bend the knee.
You are my queen. Literally has, like, to go back to it, Littlefinger, who was such a prevalent character who had lines like, chaos isn't a pit, chaos is a ladder.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes to...
I think one of the things... got stabbed in the throat. One of the worst things about season 7 is the pacing of the show and the world building. It's
so horrific.
Atrocious.
It's horrendous.
Yeah. Yeah. Alright, what's your number 6?
They come with 1,000 ships and 2 good hands. Was that this season?
The next one, I think.
Was that season?
Yeah. It was season 7. Yeah.
That's season 8 as well.
I think our next one, if I'm correct in guessing what it is, I think our next one's quite controversial. What is number 6?
My number 6 is season 6.
Correct, Snap. It is the third worst. It's not the best one. It's not the best one.
All these seasons, it has the distinct title of being the most overrated season of all of them.
Easily.
Battle of the Bastards is a horrifically terrible episode of TV.
Yep.
And if you think it's great, I think you're an idiot. And I mean that in the nicest way possible, but you're an idiot.
Yeah, Battle of the Bastards is awful. Sansa not telling the Jon about the Knights of the Vale is awful. The battle itself is awful.
Hey, don't you think you should probably tell Jon about the army we have? No.
Jaime not having an issue with Cersei doing what the Mad King wanted to do is crazy. Absolutely crazy. Fucking Daenerys burning the Dothraki was in this season. You remember that?
Kinda. It was so long ago. I just remember.
Yeah,
remember everything being really shit.
Jon's resurrection. Jon's resurrection was completely wasted.
Oh yeah, they just left his body out in the snow for no reason at the start of the season.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. You have the High Sparrow, which is like the most enjoyable part, but unfortunately, by the end, it doesn't mean anything. And in the end, when you look back, the scenes actually falter when you look back on it as a whole.
The way Arya kills Walder Frey is crazy.
Wasn't that?
And I just
wasn't the start of
season 7? It was end of season. No, that was end of season 6.
Or was it like her going there? Because the opening of season 7 is that scene.
Season 7's opening is her wearing Walder Frey's face.
Oh yes, but the killing of Walder Frey happened at the end of this season, yeah, and that was like fucking finger human pie.
Not to forget her ending in Braavos as well, with the waif killing, and also with Jaqen H'ghar like being like, "I'm no one, Arya Stark."
Fucking what a waste of 2 seasons.
Littlefinger being dumb and staying around, and just being pretentious. Fucking Tyrion and Meereen just cracking jokes with Grey Worm and Missandei as well was insane. Yeah,
great line.
Yeah, the introduction of Euron Greyjoy. What a wonderful idea that was. What they did there. The fucking Blackfish running into his death.
No, I have honor and must stay and die. Fucking hate that shit.
And the also in how they just yeeted the Dawn arc as well. The way they just killed Doran and Trystane and just had them disappear was crazy. Oh man. And like the way they ruined the Night's Watch as well, they absolutely fucking ruined the Night's Watch in season 6. Oh.
Indeed. Very unbelievable.
Yep. Number 5, season 5.
Schna.
Yeah. Okay. I feel like this is the most overhated season. It's still not a good season, but it's not as bad as people say. I think there's some people that say it's the worst one. It's definitely not the worst one. I would say it's very so-so. It's very mixed. There's a lot of bad moments. Very, very bad moments. Especially in the last 2 episodes. The Dance of Dragons and A Mother's Mercy. The way they ruin Stannis is terrible. It's probably one of the worst things about it. The whole Ramsay raping Sansa wedding, everything in Dawn with Jaime and Bronn is crazy and just wildly bad. The fucking Daenerys plotline where she beheads that Sons of the Harpy guy, and all of that nonsense in Meereen, where everything is just insufferable. Fucking Tyrion's character depleting, Varys' character depleting, Littlefinger giving Sansa to the Boltons is insane. There's a lot of bad stuff in season 5. I think the reason why it's held up is Jon's storyline at the Wall and Cersei's storyline in King's Landing are both really strong for the most part. There's a few issues in both, but I think those 2 things are really what hold up season 5. You also get little scenes like Brienne's scene with Podrick, where she talks about Renly Baratheon. You get the bonding of Roose and Ramsay Bolton. That's really good. You get some good Reek scenes. There's actual flashes of okay material here and there. I think that actually does work, but there's also bad stuff as well, like Arya killing Meryn Trant is really bad. Fucking the scene where she goes blind and there's all the faces is really strange. And yeah, it's a very mixed season. Probably more bad than it is good, but it's better than people say.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's like not a really great season. Unfortunately, it has a lot of issues, and I think Stannis being like one of the biggest fumbles I think in the show, besides the final 2 seasons. It's a very weird, frustrating season at times, but there's a lot of decent stuff throughout. Unfortunately, it just doesn't really.
Oh, I forgot to mention Barristan's death as well is also shit.
Really terrible. Really, really bad.
Yep.
At that point, it was sort of like the indicator of what the show would become. And that's sort of this season as a whole, in a weird way.
Shame.
Yeah. Well, that's the first half of the show done. That's half the show in order of shit.
Uh-huh. Number 4.
Number 4 is I've gone for season 2.
Wow, really?
Yeah, because we're dealing. Let's establish that the previous 4 seasons that we've discussed, they're in the bottom of that really disgusting dumpster that you just don't go near when you're in a dump. The rest of these seasons they're just not even close to it. They're in like a nice buffet, and they're all just brilliant. But yeah, season 2 I really love quite a bit. I think it has a lot of great moments coming out of season 1, and it does a really great job of building upon this world and sort of the aftermath of what happens in season 1. Like, Tyrion being Hand the King is fantastic. I absolutely love it. It's so great. I think everything to do with Arya that season and her interactions with Tywin is just so interesting, and like you wouldn't really expect it from this season. And it also, this season has Blackwater, one of the best episodes in the whole show. But I really enjoyed the season quite a bit. But there's just stuff in 1, 3, and 4 that I love just that tiny bit more. We're talking like fractions, because these 4 seasons are godly. But yeah, I really love season 2 quite a bit. I think it's pretty darn great.
My number 4 is season 4. It's a mixed bag in the same way that season 5 is a mixed bag, but the good stuff is so much better. It's like the Line in the Rose, Oberyn, the Watchers on the Wall, the Trial, and all the stuff in between. But I do think there are issues. I think there are things throughout, like Jaime's rape scene with Cersei, that really doesn't work. You have bits with Arya on the King's Road that I don't like. There's the Ramsay Theon scene that doesn't really work. And obviously the worst aspect is the finale, the children. The children's really bad, especially for King's Landing, for Tyrion, Tywin, and Jaime. I think that is the main issue. And like the Hound fight with Brienne is not very good either. But it does still hold up as a good season of TV. I do think that there's a lot that they get right, and there's still a lot of prestige within season 4. But it's the one, I think, over time that has aged the worst for me. It's the one that I look back on and go, I feel like this is where a lot of things turned. But having said that, again, still some really great stuff, like, Mountain the Viper, Sansa gaslighting the Vale. And there's still a lot of hope. There's still a lot of fun moments, like with Carl Tanner, that's all fun. Season 4, also, compared to the first 3, it has a lot of filler. It's one of the only seasons where there's actually not enough to do, and so they have to create stories out of it. And some of them actually work really well, and some of them don't. But overall, the highs of season 4 are very high, some of the best stuff in the show. So that is what I would say. I also think one of the other problems over season 4 is I think the Stannis Dragonstone storyline is really filler and doesn't go anywhere apart from like the Iron Bank scene, which is quite good. Something is lost a bit with like the bottom half of season 4's quality, but it's still a really good season. I still really, really enjoy the highlights. Another one I forgot to mention was Littlefinger killing Lysa Arryn as well. That's a great payoff. Yeah, that's my number 4. What is your number 3?
My number 3 is the very beginning, season 1.
All right.
What a great way to start off a TV show. What a fantastic season of television. You have a great opening episode, but then it just builds and builds and builds. And then when we get to episode 5, that's that point on, from 5 till episode 10, is just... It's a great second half of the first season of a TV show that, when all the building blocks of those first 4 episodes happen, It's like, this is really solid stuff. There's some really great moments, really great character moments. We're all building little bits here. But then episode 5 comes like a train, and it's just fucking brilliant. Golden Crown after that is great, but then You Win or You Die is absolutely fucking perfect way to end an episode. That final scene in the throne room is godly good. The tension is fucking palpable, and it is fucking breathtaking to watch. I did warn you not to trust me, is a great final line. Fucking brilliant. The pointy end is great, but then Baelor surpasses all expectations. Killing off your main character in the way you do, and it not be bad, but it actually be fucking a masterpiece of writing and conclusion of a character. Wow. Just wow. Breathtakingly good. Fantastic. Love this season. Really great first season. Probably one of the best, if not the best, first season of a TV show made. It's fantastic. What a set of episodes, man. And that second half is just fucking great.
So, for me, as we initially reviewed this show, and we kind of rated them through, it kind of declined in chronological order. However, this now 6 years later, with the benefit of hindsight, I've actually slightly changed something. My number 3 is season 2. And I think it's because with time and sort of looking back on it, I think I've noticed more flaws with it than I initially thought. I think whilst a great season with great stuff in it, like you mentioned, Tyrion as Hand of the King, Theon and Winterfell, that's all awesome stuff. I think all the other storylines are mostly quite good, but they have a few things about them that I think aren't as superior. I think there's aspects of Jon Beyond the Wall that could be a bit better with how they handle why he chases Ygritte after failing to execute her. There's aspects of the Stannis storyline that could be better handled at Dragonstone. There's aspects of the Renly side of things, like not having Storm's End there, and the kind of the difference that makes the story and kind of the weight that it kind of pulls on it. The Littlefinger stuff is good, but again, there's little questions that are asked about it. Harrenhal is great with Arya and Tywin. It's different from the books, but it's still really effective in what it does. I think the rationale for why Robb marries Talisa could have been done a bit better than it is. And for me, the main issue with season 2 is Daenerys in Karth. I think that is actually quite bad. It's like the one glaring issue with it, I think.
It does bring the season down, yeah.
Yeah, it's still a great season, but it's got things about it that make me just sort of... I sort of think that it could have been done a bit better than it is. I think there's little things about it that could be improved, but there's definitely way more positive than negative. Like, some of the best stuff in season 2 is some of the best stuff in the show. Particularly King's Landing and Winterfell and Harrenhal. Those are the best parts. That for me is why season 2 is my number 3. What is your number 2?
My number 2, and this was really close. People are obviously going to be mad that season 6 isn't up here, and I have no idea if they'll be mad at this or not, but my number 2 is season 3.
Alright.
Snap. Yeah, so yeah, we got the same point, but then you can guess what my number 1 is. But season 3, I think objectively, I think this is probably the most consistently great season. I think it has the best run of episodes in a row. And the build up to the Reigns of Castamere is probably the best build up at any point in the show. I think everything this season does to cater towards building towards that very episode, and then the build up in the episode itself, I don't think any other point in the show gets near it. it's a beautifully, horrifically, just tragic episode, and it's what this show should have been famous for in almost every season and the ending. But unfortunately, it never reached sort of this peak in terms of a single episode. Just everything about it just fucking breaks you, because it's like the biggest massacre in the show. That was good. That was well done, well built, well written, brilliantly performed. You couldn't have asked for a better ending to Robb and Catelyn, in my mind. But then just the rest of the season is just really great stuff. Everything with Jon and Ygritte is beautiful, and I love it. It's funny, really well done romance. Tyrion's sort of everything to do with Tyrion and just being the new Master of Coin is great. I love it. It's just so great, and everything to do with Tywin and him, it's so great, so fucking compelling. It's just what a great.
I also recall you really liking how they hammered down Daenerys' motivation in season 3 as well.
Mm-hmm. Because that was her character. While she's not the best, the point is that she is a savior, and that was sort of like the idea of her and why she's meant to be queen of Westeros and the Seven Kingdoms.
Mm.
But then the final season fucked all that up, so that it makes this season that little bit timid worse because of that, because it led to a character assassination. But yeah, this season is, I would say, probably, bias aside, probably the best season.
So I have gone for season 3 as well for my number 2. Jaime's story in this season is unfucking believable.
Mm-hmm.
I think season 3, to me, in concept, should be the best ever, because it's adapting from the best source material. The only reason why it's not my number 1 is because I don't think everything was quite handled the way it should be. Most of it was, though. As I said, Jaime and Brienne's storyline going from the Riverlands through to King's Landing, through Harrenhal, was fucking exquisite. It was amazing, great scenes. Then you got Robb and Catelyn's storyline through Riverrun into the twins with the Red Wedding. That, again, it's like the best thing in the show. Then you got Jon's storyline going with the Wildlings, with Mance Rayder, Ygritte, and Tormund, going across up the wall, and then him betraying her as well was awesome. And then you've got also Theon being tricked by Ramsay, which is a great way for him to process becoming Reek. I do think in the second half it might be they might have done a bit too much with that storyline, but overall that idea of Theon being tricked was very well done. You have Daenerys going to Astapor and Yunkai, which again hammers down her story in a really emphatic way, and it gives her these very memorable scenes. King's Landing with Tyrion and Tywin is so fun, but also quite devastating as well. And all the stuff with Cersei and Sansa, Littlefinger, and that whole storyline and also with the proper bringing in of the Tyrells, of the Queen of Thorns. Her Olenna's dynamic with Tywin that season is great. And Joffrey is at his absolute peak that season. You get that scene with Joffrey and Tywin. You get the scene with them at the end of the season where, it's the whole Robb Stark is dead, and then he's like, any man who says I am the king is no true king. King is tired. That whole thing was so fun. There's a lot going right with season 3. Roose Bolton is at his best in that season. He is fucking awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of really great things. Again, I kind of mentioned this with season 4. I don't like the Dragonstone storyline in season 3. I think some of the stuff they do with Stannis doesn't work. I think the stuff they do with Gendry and Dragonstone doesn't work. it just kind of leaves everything below what it should be. And kind of like what I said about season 2, like there's details about everything that doesn't quite live up to what it should be. There's little bits and pieces here and there that need to be like improved on to fully execute what the story demanded. But again, as I said, that's balanced up by iconic scenes like Chaos as a ladder in The Climb. That's a great scene. Jaime saving Brienne from the bear pit. The wedding with Sansa and Tyrion getting drunk. That's a great moment. As you said, like the Red Wedding. You got Bran and Jon nearly meeting each other. You've got the scenes that book in the season with Tyrion and Tywin. You will not have heir to Casterly Rock. I wanted to drag you into the sea and let you drown. Like, those kind of scenes really, really make the season so great to watch. And of course, let's not forget the Brotherhood without banners, the Hound fighting Beric. Like, all of that stuff was great fun as well. So there's a lot to enjoy. There's a lot to enjoy about Season 3. But yeah, just a few rough edges keeping it from the top spot for me. It's not quite what I wanted it to be. It's almost there, but it's not quite there. Yeah. Your number one.
My number one, in the great quote by a legend, I was a fucking legend. It is season 4. Because, fuck it, I thought this season was fucking great for the most part. And I think for me, it has my favourite episode in the whole show, which is The Watchers on the Wall. I absolutely adore that episode, and I think it's number one for episodes in the show. But this also has The Lion and the Rose, Joffrey's death, great build-up. The Mountain and the Viper, bloody hell, what an episode. The Laws of Gods and Men, Tyrion fucking Lannister and his absolute peak. The first of his name, the mini-boss battle of Carl fucking Tanner. Fucking brilliant little mini-boss in this season. Love Tanner. I think he's fucking great. Oathkeeper has a great scene where Jon fucking just is brilliant. Love Jon. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Ignoring the final episode, of course, I love this season. I think Tyrion and Jon and Oberyn Martell are my 3 favourite characters in this season, along with Tywin, if we ignore the final episode. Love this season. Felt just... Coming back to watching this after when I rewatched the first 3 seasons was so rewarding and satisfying to watch. And I absolutely had a whale of a time with these 9 episodes. Ignoring the last one.
It's kind of like, isn't this similar to your thoughts on Haunting of Hill House?
In a way, yeah, it is. Because Haunting of Hill House has 9 great episodes and then an awful final episode. But I can...
Season 4's like that.
Yeah, because I can enjoy those 9 episodes because of what they did was like so masterful, which is what this season for me did.
My number one is season 1.
Yeah.
So, like, when someone says to me, you name any other season of the show, you ask them, what's bad about this? What's the worst thing about this? It's really easy for me to tell you what didn't work about seasons 2 to 8. But when it comes to season 1, it's really tricky. It's really hard for me to tell you what's wrong with it because there's hardly anything wrong with it. It's a very, very consistently great adaptation of A Game of Thrones, the book. And you have to really, really dig down and nitpick and really get to the fine details of it to find things that can be improved about it. You know, it's things like the changing of Rob's battle plans and like where the armies are positioned, or, you know, aesthetic things like, oh, it doesn't look as grand, or You know, the fact that it's building block episodes that have to patiently do things to reward you later. It's things like that that are the only things you can really criticize. Because when it comes to actually writing a show, every episode is great, every character is great, every arc is beautifully told, all the dialogue is sensational, the acting is top notch, the storytelling is lovely. And that whole arc of Ned Stark, Robert Baratheon, you know, all of those characters and how they influence the story is just so exceptional. And then all of the other characters that would become main characters later in the show get all these beautiful starting points where they drip feed you things about them. It's, for me, the best season because it gets all the things that it needs to get right, it gets right. And it is so fun to watch and fun to rewatch as well. Yeah. I think it's probably easy to say because it's the most faithful adaptation, but I also think it's because it's just a great season of TV as well. I think, yeah, sure, you could say it's a shame that they didn't have the Battle of the Whispering Wood and the Green Fork in the show because of budgetary constraints. You could say that that's a problem. But it's like, what they actually give you instead, the actual alternative that they give you is really fun anyway. And that's kind of the point, is that everything that it does the same, it does beautifully, and everything that it does different, it also does beautifully. Like the scene with Robert and Cersei, like the scenes with Varys and Littlefinger in the Red Keep. The things that make the TV show its own thing in season 1 are actually great and make itself something, it gives its own identity to the show. And yeah, it just doesn't really put a foot wrong, and that's why it's my favorite, because I can watch season 1 from beginning to end and not have to complain about it. I can just enjoy everything. Yeah, that's why it's my number 1. And also because Sean Bean and Mark Addy are fucking legends.
They're fucking legends.
And your conclusion and rating out of 10 for season 8 of Game of Thrones.
I think the last 3 hours probably should have covered it. This is the worst season of the show. This is the worst ending of any show. And is a generational meme of what not to do with an ending of a story. And yet people and writers still try and ultimately fail and just keep trying to do this bullshit. And it keeps happening and it keeps happening, but this is the one show where it had such high highs, and then getting to this season, it decided to say, fuck you, you wasted your time. And also, fuck the characters you like. It's so insulting, it's so terrible, and it's just fucking horrific. Game of Thrones Season 8 is a big, fat goose egg of a 0 out of 10.
The Brienne scene is good. 0.1 out of 10.
That's shocking. What did you give it in the other Game of Thrones Season 8 recap?
I can't fucking remember. I don't know, like a 2 maybe?
Very kind of you. What?
Yeah,
Yeah.
For me to give a season a 0, it would have to be exactly like this, but without that scene.
Yeah, it would have to be that single scene.
Yep. Challenge accepted, I suppose. Someone will do it.
Yeah.
So, now that that's over, we have 2 spin-off shows to watch. We have A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, and we have House of the Dragon.
Woo, woo, woo.
But firstly, give your thoughts on going into House of the Dragon.
I'm hopeful for season 1 because I hear lots of good things. Season 2, I have no idea because I heard a lot of mixed things. But I'm hoping for just a familiar vibe of what once was, and just to feel something again about Westeros. That's my hopes.
I'm optimistic.
Yeah.
I'm optimistic. House of the Dragon has some apparently, very good performances in it. From people like Paddy Considine as Viserys. You've got Olivia Cook as Alicent Hightower. You've got Emma Darcy as Rhaenyra. You've got Matt Smith as Daemon. And you've got that guy who plays Otto and the guy who plays Kristen Cole. I can't remember their names. But those are the things about the show I've heard very good things about. And then, of course, the other spin-off, which is going to be beginning in 2 weeks, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, with Dunk and Egg. Your thoughts about that?
I'm hopeful. It should be hopefully good. That's my main want, for it to be good. Maybe hopefully something different, something a new kind of like avenue of like kind of story to explore in this world. So that would be nice. Yeah, fingers crossed. That's all we can hope for. Just fingers crossed it's good.
Yeah, I would be shocked if it was bad. I would actually be shocked if it was bad. I think I've got very high expectations. A lot would have to go wrong for A Night of the Seven Kingdoms to be bad. I'll say that. So, any last words before we close the book on Game of Thrones forever?
Rest in piss.
I did warn you not to trust me.
Your mother was a dumb whore with a fat ass. Did you know that?
You'll be fucking your bride with a wooden cock.
Maybe it already is cocks in the end.
All right. That's a great way to end it.
Yeah. Piss off.
I bid you adieu, a good night, and a goodbye.